Good morning. Members will come into the chamber and please take their seats. Members will come into the chamber and please take their seats. Because the hour for convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. All members voted. All members voted. If so, almost. All members have now voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines? Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 65th House District, Representative Mandisha Thomas. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I bring to you Minister Jacqueline Carr. She's a resident of the city of South Fulton, which the now Honorable Representative Lydia Glaze has leadership in. Minister Carr is accompanied today by her father, Pastor Carr, and several others. Responding to God's call at the age of 13, she combined her gift of singing with her ministry work, engaging admiration and respect worldwide. Her music ministry embodies the themes of freedom and restoration. I first recognized her contribution to the state of Georgia when she hosted the You Will Win conference last summer at the Georgia Conference Center in the city of College Park. Through the profound phrase, "You will win," she has uplifted countless of individuals during the times of hardship, guiding them out of despair and to empowerment. Her ministry resonates deeply with the people whom we as legislators advocate for this very chamber through policy and budget decisions. I've come to understand the immense power of spoken word, as Proverbs 18:21 teaches us that life and death is in the power of the tongue. When Minister Carr speaks, her words carry authority and weight capable of moving mountains. Today, I have invited her to impart words that I hope will stir the hearts and inspire all of us to push forward in our legislative duties. Colleagues, I share with you Miss Minister Jacqueline Carr.
It's good to have you.
Good morning. Greetings to everyone. I am humbled to be included in this monumental moment, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to share this moment with you. Before I go into prayer, I understand and I know that you carry quite a load, and as you have made the commitment to do your best to rightfully serve the state of Georgia, sometimes it can become a lot, even to the point to where you get discouraged. However, I am here to remind you that despite how heavy or intense it is, you are still going to win. God is committed to seeing that you get all of your wins, and He's intentional about your victory. And she spoke about winning, and I got a few requests before we go into prayer. I just want to say, I know you're hurting, and I know you're torn. I know you're broken, but you will win. All of those may be facts, but the truth still remains that in the name of Jesus, you will win. 'Cause everything attached to you wins. Now, if you believe that, everybody stand with me as we get ready to say a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with our hearts full of hope and eyes set on the horizon of a brighter future for the great state of Georgia. In your wisdom, you have guided the steps of those who have come before us, and now we ask for your light to shine upon our path as we navigate the complexities of governance and leadership. We pray for our legislators and those chosen to represent the diverse voices of our beloved state. Grant them wisdom, Lord, beyond their own understanding. Fill them with a spirit of unity, compassion, and discernment as they make decisions that affect the lives of millions. May they remember the sacred responsibility entrusted to them to serve not just with their minds, but with their hearts, aligned with the values of justice, equity, and peace. Lord, we ask for courage and strength for our leaders, that they may stand firm in the face of adversity, always striving towards the common good. Let them be beacons of hope and progress, working tirelessly to uplift every community, especially those who have been marginalized and undeserved. May their efforts sow seeds of change that will blossom into a future where every Georgian can thrive regardless of their background, their beliefs, or their place in society. It's in Jesus' name I pray. We say together, amen. Would you join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you for that message of encouragement. We are most appreciative in those beautiful lyrics as well. Thank you for that. Doorkeepers, if you will unlock the doors, we'll ask the members to join our pastor of the day, the Reverend Cara, and her father in the South Ante room if you'll want to take a photo and greet them and thank them for being here. Okay, members, our next recognition is for the Doctor of the Day. Our Doctor of today is brought to us by Representative Miriam Parrish, and it's Dr. Richard Thomas. We appreciate Dr. Thomas being here. Members, if you get a chance, go downstairs and tell Dr. Thomas how much we appreciate. Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. As the Speaker this morning said, what we do here is sometimes hard and goes along with something to think about today. Pain is temporary, but quitting is forever.
On another point, you're right. Absolutely. I will continue to ponder that pearl the rest of the day. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Mr. Clerk.
Representative Session, the 104th moves following be established as the order of business in the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1170 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th, Mathiak the 74th, Gaines the 120th, Gamble the 15th, Kennedy the 101st. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2A, Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Department of Public Health.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1171 by Representative Burchetta, the 176th, Corbett of the 174th, Tarvin of the 2nd, Irwin of the 32nd, Ballard of the 147th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 48.8.3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to exemptions from sales and use taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1172 by Representative Burchetta, the 176th, Rhodes of the 124th, Leverett of the 123rd, Smith of the 70th, Williams of the 168th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to water rights.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1173 by Representative Ridley, the 6th, Rhodes of the 124th, Ridley the 22nd, Cannon of the 172nd, Corbett of the 174th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 27.4.34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to fishing with a bow and arrow.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
House Bill 1174 by Representative Smith of the 138th. Bill be titled an act to amend an act to create the Harris County Public Improvements Authority.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1175 by Representative Cannon of the 172nd, Stinson of the 150th, Hawkins of the 27th, Bennett of the 94th, Mathiak the 74th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 33 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to physical therapists.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 1176 by Representative Kelly, the 16th, Ballinger the 23rd, Cooper the 45th, Donahue the 31st, and Buckner to the 137th. Bill be titled an act to amend Titles 31, 33, 45, and 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to health insurance, public officers, and employees.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1177 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, Washburn, and the 144th, Blackman, and the 146th. The bill be titled Act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to tax exemptions.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1178 by Representative Evans of the 89th, Renner of the 85th, Gullett of the 19th, Buckner of the 137th, Camp of the 135th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to public utilities and public transportation.
Energy Utilities and Telecommunications.
House Bill 1179 by Representative Cooper of the 45th, Hawkins of the 27th, Jones of the 25th, Oliver of the 82nd, Lumsden of the 12th. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 332459.25 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the establishment by health benefit plans of step therapy protocols.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1180 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Williamson of the 112th, Blackman of the 146th, Martin of the 49th, Buckner of the 137th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 48740.26 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to income tax credits for film.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1181 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Blackman of the 146th, Williamson of the 112th, Stevens of the 164th, Buckner of the 137th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1182 by Representative Crowe of the 118th, Williamson of the 112th, Blackman of the 146th, Buckner of the 137th, Stevens of the 164th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 33 and Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding insurance and income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1183 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th, Cooper of the 45th, Hawkins of the 27th, Stoner of the 40th, Mathiak of the 74th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 16 to Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to student health in elementary and secondary education.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1184 by Representative Anulowitz of the 42nd, Smith of the 18th, Leverett of the 123rd, and Evans of the 57th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 24 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to privileges relative to evidence.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1185 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Washburn of the 144th, Fryer of the 122nd, Martin of the 49th, Blackman of the 146th. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to tax exemptions.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1186 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Cox of the 28th, Dubnik of the 29th, Ballard of the 147th, Maynard of the 56th, and others. The bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 20:1433 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to indicators of quality of learning in individual schools.
Education.
House Bill 1187 by Representative Thomas, the 21st, Bonner of the 73rd, Mathiak the 74th, and Hagan in the 156th. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 16, Chapter 4, Title 30, and Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to crimes and offenses.
Public and Community Health.
House Resolution 1019 by Representative Saints of the 180th, Jaspers of the 11th, Ridley of the 22nd, New of the 64th, Horner of the 3rd, and others. A resolution supporting increased protections for American borders.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Resolution 1020 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd, Jones of the 47th, Martin of the 49th, Cooper of the 45th, and Smith of the 70th. A resolution recognizing Representative Joe Wilkinson and dedicating an interchange in his honor.
Former member of the House. Transportation.
House Resolution 1021 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Washburn of the 144th, Lackman of the 146th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide for local governments to have the option to offer a statewide homestead exemption.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 1022 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Washburn of the 144th, Fryer of the 122nd, Martin of the 49th, Blackman of the 146th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide for local governments to have the option to offer a statewide homestead exemption.
Ways and Means.
Senate Bill 339 by Senator Summers, the 13th. A bill be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the probate court of Crisp County.
Intragovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 345 by Senator Walker, the 20th. A bill be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the probate court of Dooley County.
Intragovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 382 by Senator Gooch, the 51st. A bill be titled an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Gilmer County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 388 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 33rd, Albers of the 56th, and Beach of the 21st. The bill be titled an act to amend an act providing a homestead exemption from Cherokee County School District's ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 397 by Senator Williams of the 25th, Strickland of the 17th, and Jones of the 10th. The bill be titled an act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Locust Grove.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 434 by Senator Burns of the 23rd. Bill be titled an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Glasscock County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1135 by Representative Hatchett of the 155th, a bill to provide a new charter for the town of Dexter. House Bill 1136 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Gullett of the 19th, Leverett of the 123rd, Persinger of the 119th, Cameron of the 1st, and others, a bill relating to stalking. House Bill 1137 by Representative Kendrick of the 95th, a bill relating to form of indictment by grand jury. House Bill 1138 by Representative Kendrick of the 95th, a bill relating to fund administrator and investments relative to Invest Georgia Fund. House Bill 1139 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Oliver of the 82nd, Miller of the 62nd, Bell of the 75th, a bill relating to elementary and secondary education. House Bill 1140 by Representative Smith of the 18th, a bill to amend an act to provide a homestead exemption from Haralson County School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1141 by Representative Hagan of the 156th, Mathis of the 149th, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from Telfair County School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1142 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Gullett of the 19th, Jones of the 25th, Hilton of the 48th, Montana of the 17th, and others, a bill relating to general provisions of professions and businesses. House Bill 1143 by Representative Hagan of the 156th and Mathis of the 149th, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from Telfair County ad valorem taxes for county purposes. House Bill 1144 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Gullett of the 19th, Jones of the 25th, Hilton of the 48th, Montana of the 17th, and others, a bill relating to general provisions of professions and businesses. House Bill 1145 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th, Gamble of the 15th, a bill to amend an act to provide a homestead exemption from certain Bartow County School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1146 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Hitchens of the 161st, Petrie of the 166th, a bill relating to groundwater use. House Bill 1147 by Representative Montana of the 17th, Kelly of the 16th, Smith of the 18th, New of the 64th, Gullett of the 19th, a bill to provide a new homestead exemption from Paulding County ad valorem taxes for county purposes. House Bill 1148 by Representative Montana of the 17th, Kelly of the 16th, Smith of the 18th, New of the 64th, and Gullett of the 19th, a bill to provide for a new homestead exemption from Paulding County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. House Bill 1149 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Sains of the 180th, Thomas of the 21st, a bill relating to local government budgets and audits. House Bill 1150 by Representative Collins of the 71st, Corbett of the 174th, Sains of the 180th, Perkle of the 169th, Crow of the 118th, a bill relating to tinting of windows or windshields of motor vehicles. House Bill 1151 by Representative McLean of the 109th, Prince of the 132nd, Alexander of the 66th, Gladney of the 130th, Barton of the 5th, and others, a bill relating to special license plates promoting or certain worthy agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations with proceeds distributed to the general fund, an agency, fund, or nonprofit corporation. House Bill 1152 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Carson of the 46th, Powell of the 33rd, Persinger of the 119th, Gullett of the 19th, and others, a bill relating to electrical service. House Bill 1153 by Representative Jones of the 25th, Martin of the 49th, Seabaugh of the 34th, Anderson of the 10th, Huddleston of the 72nd, a bill relating to property. House Bill 1154 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Oliver of the 82nd, Beverly of the 143rd, Williams of the 37th, Glaze of the 67th, a bill relating to medical assistance, House Bill 1155, by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Oliver of the 82nd, Beverly of the 143rd, Williams of the 37th, Glaze of the 67th, a bill relating to the Newborn Baby and Mother Protection Act, House Bill 1156, by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Holly of the 116th, Bazemore of the 69th, Glaze of the 67th, a bill regarding landlord and tenant, House Bill 1157 by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Holly of the 116th, Bazemore of the 69th, Glaze of the 67th, a bill to amend the Fair Business Practices Act of 1975. House Bill 1158 by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Drenner of the 85th, Barnes of the 86th, Taylor of the 92nd, Bazemore of the 69th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding alimony and child support. House Bill 1159 by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Bruce of the 61st, Holly of the 116th, Clark of the 108th, Reese of the 140th, a bill relating to elections and primaries. House Bill 1160 by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Holly of the 116th, Evans of the 89th, Moore of the 91st, Draper of the 90th, a bill relating to carrying and possession of firearms. House Bill 1161 by Representative Ballard of the 147th, Saines of the 180th, Petrie of the 166th, Reese of the 140th, Bonner of the 73rd, and others, a bill relating to income taxes. House Bill 1162 by Representative Knight of the 134th, Williamson of the 112th, Blackman of the 146th, Carson of the 46th, and Martin of the 49th, a bill relating to revenue and taxation. House Bill 1163 by Representative Knight of the 134th, Williamson of the 112th, Blackman of the 146th, Carson of the 46th, and Martin of the 49th, a bill relating to revenue and taxation. House Bill 1164 by Representative Miller of the 62nd, Smith of the 18th, LaHood of the 175th, Buckner of the 137th, Fleming of the 114th, and others, a bill relating to criminal trespass, damage of property. House Bill 1165 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Reeves of the 99th, Dempsey of the 13th, Parish of the 158th, Hilton of the 48th, a bill relating to membership vacancies, membership not barred to holding public office. House Bill 1166 by Representative Jones of the 60th, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from City of Atlanta ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes. House Bill 1167 by Representative Townsend of the 179th, Irwin of the 32nd, Lumsden of the 12th, Yarta of the 152nd, Chokes of the 151st, and others, a bill relating to education and revenue and taxation. House Bill 1168 by Representative Townsend of the 179th, Deloach of the 167th, Saines of the 180th, Vance of the 133rd, Reeves of the 99th, and others, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. House Bill 1169 by Representative Townsend of the 179th, Smith of the 138th, Deloach of the 167th, Vance of the 133rd, Reeves of the 99th, and others, a bill relating to Environmental Protection Division, Environmental Advisory Council duties and council and its members and director, appeal procedures, permit applications, and inspections. House Resolution 996 by Representative Williams of the 148th, a resolution honoring the life of Deputy Ty Brown and dedicating a road in his memory. Senate Bill 189 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, Dolezal of the 27th, Brass of the 28th, and Duarte of the 31st, Moore of the 53rd, and others, bill relating to primaries and elections. House Senate Bill 332 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Hatchett of the 50th, Brass of the 28th, and others, a bill relating to prosecuting attorneys Qualification Commission. Senate Bill 344 by Senator Anna Duarte of the 31st, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, Brass of the 18th, of the 28th, Hatchett of the 50th, and others, a bill relating to exemptions from sales and use tax. Senate Bill 373 by Senator Walker of the 3rd of the 20th, Anna Duarte of the 31st, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Strickland of the 17th, Halpert of the 39th, and others, a bill relating to requirements for licensure in marriage and family therapy. Senate Bill 405 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Gooch of the 51st, Hickman of the 4th, Kennedy of the 18th, Still of the 48th, and others, a bill to amend the Completion Special Schools Act through second readers.
All right, outstanding.
Reports of standing committees the clerk will read.
Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman on Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under its consideration the following bills of the House. Instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1063 do pass by substitute. House Bill 1080 do pass. House Bill 1085 do pass. House Bill 1091 do pass. House Bill 1094 do pass. House Bill 1095 do pass. House Bill 1106 do pass. House Bill 1013 do pass by substitute. House Bill 1025 do pass by substitute. House Bill 1086 do pass. House Bill 1087 do pass. House Bill 1088 do pass. Respectfully submitted. Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman. Representative Lynn Smith of the 70th District, Chairman on the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee of Natural Resources and Environment had under its consideration the following bills of the House. and instructed me to report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 53 to pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Lynn Smith, the 70th District, Chairman. Representative Jade Collins, the 71st District, Chairman on the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security has had under its consideration the following bill of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 424 to pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jade Collins, the 71st District, Chairman. Representative Mike Chokas, the 151st District Chairman on Committee on Small Business Development, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Small Business Development has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. Instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 1020 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Mike Chokas, the 151st District Chairman. Representative Jones of the 25th District, Chairman on Committee on Technology and Infrastructure Innovation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Technology and Infrastructure Innovation has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 988 to pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jones of the 25th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Members, we'll move on to the local calendar. There are 5 bills on the local calendar this morning that relate to homestead exemption, require a recorded 2/3 vote for passage. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. Mr. Clerk, will you read?
House Bill 1063 by substitute by Representative Lumsden of the 12th, Chattooga County. House Bill 1080 by Representative Frazier of the 126th, City of Waynesboro. House Bill 1085 by Representative Lupton of the 83rd, City of Chamblee. House Bill 1091 by Representative Neal of the 79th, Clayton County. House Bill 1094 by Representative Vance of the 133rd, Baldwin County. House Bill 1095 by Representative Vance of the 133rd, Baldwin County. House Bill 1106 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, City of Tybee Island. House Bill 1013 by substitute by Representative Thomas of the 21st, City of Woodstock. House Bill 1025 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd, Cherokee County. House Bill 1086 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Barrow County. House Bill 1087 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Barrow County. House Bill 1088 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Barrow County.
For what purpose does Chair Lady Camp rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
Motion to remove House Bill 1025 and recommit it to Intergovernmental Coordination Committee.
Chair Lady Camp has made a motion to remove House Bill 1025 from the local calendar and recommit to Intergovernmental Committee. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 1025 by Representative Ridley, the 22nd, Cherokee County.
On the lady's motion that HB 1025 be withdrawn from the local calendar and recommitted to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee. Is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar, less HB 1025, and accepting all the others? The chair hears none. Previous questions ordered. Is there an objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Take your time. We got all day. I cleared my calendar.
Picture of this monumental moment. See? See how easy it is?
All members voted. All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines? On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the yeas are 158, the nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. For what purpose does Representative Camp rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to make a motion to immediately transmit the local legislation calendar to the Senate.
The lady has moved that we immediately transmit the local calendar to the Senate because of some time-sensitive priorities we have on that calendar. Is there any objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. We have several morning orders this morning, so I'll ask the members to be as brief as possible, but also be very thorough because we have some visitors here that need to be recognized. On another note, they don't make those oak trees like they used to down in Statesboro. Okay. Since I'm talking about natural resources, I'll recognize Chair Lady Lynn Smith for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but I got to borrow a little bit of time. You just did that in the tradition of Speaker Murphy. That's how long that goes back from breaking the gavel. Good morning, everyone. And to those of you who have a Keep Georgia Beautiful organization in your neighborhood, will you just stand for a minute? Because all over the state, we benefit from Keep Georgia Beautiful. And we have these wonderful folks up in the gallery, if y'all will stand, trying to locate you. Or there you are. And we thank you so much for what you do. You truly are making my community beautiful, and you're making the citizens and the visitors to Georgia aware of how important this is. So thank you again.
Thank you. Georgia is beautiful, and thanks for helping keep it that way. Certainly you and your committee do a great job with that, Chair Lady. Representative Mary Margaret Oliver is recognized. Y'all give her some attention here. I want you to hear this morning order.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to be joined with some of our friends this morning to honor the Georgia Lions Lighthouse Foundation. In 1949, members of the Moultrie, Albany, and Atlanta Lions Club donated $1,000 to form the foundation. Many decades later, they are delivering services in 159 counties, directly have clinics in 52 counties for vision screening, glasses, updates, telepathy, meetings with people. They have developed screenings in schools and providing services to those insured and not insured across the state of Georgia. We have many members with us today. I ask you to stand, please, and let us honor the Lions Club members of Georgia and their services to Georgia across the state. Thank you very much. There they are, up there.
What a great program. Representative Oliver, when did you say that program began?
1949.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank y'all for what you do. It's important and has benefited so many Georgians. Thank you. Representative Washburn is recognized for a morning order. And friends, let's see if what y'all have in common. We want to hear about it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm inviting and giving a moment for all of my fellow Realtors who are members of the Georgia House to come and join me here. Today is Realtor Day here at the Capitol, and I think we have some of them in the gallery. If you're here and are a Realtor, please stand. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, these people do all kinds of consulting and brokerage of all types of real estate. But we want to focus on the one type that is done by so many of them, and that is they sell dwellings to people. Ladies and gentlemen, the path to financial stability and to some net worth for most all Georgians involves ownership of a home. And these are the people that take that little couple by the hand that are scared to death and don't know where to go and what to do, and they introduce them to a lender. They get them pre-qualified, they show them a house they can buy, and they help them buy it. And that sets them on a pathway of financial stability and the building of some net worth. So these people are small business people, whether they're with a big firm or a small firm. They're independent contractors, small business people, and they do good work. So please greet them today when you see them here at the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, by Realtor members. We have one last word here.
And also, I'd like to thank the ones from Valdosta that came over 3.5 hours to be here. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. 3.5 hours.
All over the state, we appreciate what y'all do for helping make Georgia the best place to live, work, raise a family. You can't do that without a home. Thank you for what you do. Representative Teddy Reese is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I am deeply honored and immensely elated today to recognize a group of young professionals that are here from the greater Atlanta area as well as the River Valley. And that's the Urban League Young Professionals. If you guys will please stand up so you can be recognized by this body. That is the Urban League of Greater Atlanta Young Professionals and the Urban League of the River Valley Young Professionals. These groups, Mr. Speaker, commit thousands of hours each year to the betterment of our community, to the betterment of Georgia. They are hands-on with working with our younger generation so that we make sure that we produce the brightest fruit right here in the state of Georgia. Thank you to the Urban League Young Professionals for what you do, and welcome to your state capital.
Absolutely. We were in the River Valley earlier, so we appreciate what y'all do. Thank you. Let's see, we have Representative Mogul and Representative Marion. Where's Representative Marion? You're not Representative Marion. That's Representative Draper. There he is. I couldn't see you, Pete.
Thank you, Mr.
Recognized.
Speaker. We're here to recognize the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, Atlanta. They're promoting home ownership and wealth creation. Within the Hispanic community. They're providing resources to communities such as business networking opportunities, education, and community outreach. Locally, they're actually also helping our economy, creating wealth and jobs, and promoting Hispanic realtors. So please stand up and be recognized. Their president and the current board.
Welcome to the People's House.
Yeah.
Welcome to the People's House, your house. We're pleased you're with us, and thank you for what you do. Representative Bell. Representative Eric Bell is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Speaker, for the awesome occasion always to address my colleagues. But today is the 5th annual Black Male Educator Appreciation Day, recognizing the positive impact and influence of black male teachers, educators, and fathers in the state of Georgia. This event is started by Georgia educators Jason B. Allen, his students from Griffin Spalding Board of and the Education Chair, R. Centel Brown. This is designed as a day to celebrate the involvement and impact of black male teachers, educators, and fathers in our schools and communities. We acknowledge and honor the contributions of the following black male educators in our schools and communities from the state of Georgia and the honorees of this year's celebration. The grandparent of the year, Mr. Morris Bailey. Outstanding teacher honoree, Ronald Mack. Excellence in Education Leadership Award, Dr. Avery Kinley. And the Black Male Educators 2024 honorees are Christopher Brunson, Martrice Ball, Devin Williams, and Timothy Jenkins. The group is in the gallery, and can you please stand? There they go. Thank you for all the work that you do in the state of Georgia. What's the word?
Thank you, Representative Bell, and welcome to the People's House. Chairman Werkeiser is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Rural Health Hospital Day at the Capitol, and Hometown Health is a network of Georgia rural hospitals, is hosting its 17th annual Rural Hospital CEO Day at the Capitol. This day is of great value not only to our hospital attendees, but to our legislators. We thank you for being in the gallery. I want to recognize two of my CEOs who are here today, Dave Flanders from Optum in Reidsville and Bill Lee from Evans Memorial at Claxton. I know Jimmy Lewis has worked very hard with Terry England and then with Matt Hatchett to help develop policy that has helped our rural hospitals. And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, is it not true that that gavel and the oak that it came from, that many hearts were broken at Sweetheart Circle?
And now a few more there, Mr. Chairman. Rumor has it you broke a few of those hearts around Sweetheart Circle, but I won't talk about those today. Welcome to our rural hospitals. Did y'all stand? Were y'all? They must be over in the Senate, but we had a good opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to be with them this morning. A great group of folks who do outstanding work in taking care of the people of Georgia. Chairman Hawkins, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to recognize the Georgia Society of Radiologic Technologists. These are the folks that we all see and our families see with early detection of life-saving techniques and detection of diseases like cancer. Without them, the access would be much slowed down, but they do a wonderful job there in the gallery. Would you please stand? And would y'all recognize our radio technologist? Thank y'all so much for what you do.
Awesome. Thank y'all for being here. Thanks for what y'all do as well. Welcome to the People's House. Chair Lady Cooper, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everybody, you found a packet of dental, I think it's a new toothbrush and liquid mouth mint for good breath. Comes at a good time now that we're coming up on Valentine's Day, so you can get close to your sweetheart and make sure you have good breath. Then I just want to say this is a gift from the dental hygienist. I want to give a shout out to them if there's any dental hygienists still left. If not, they are the oh, look, we got a whole lot of them up here. Can everybody rise and give them a hand for our packets and for all they do to take care of Georgia's teeth? Thank you.
Dental hygienist, great. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair
you,
Lady.
Mr. Speaker. Everybody enjoy your packets.
Representative Burnell and and the Clayton County delegation.
Thank you,
Clayton County delegation will join Representative Rhonda Burnell for a morning order. Come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the gallery, we'd like to welcome the Clayton County Chamber, Clayton County Leadership Clayton class, if they could stand. All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative, and welcome to the People's House. Whip Burchett is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Make sure you don't cross that line, Mr. Representative.
Y'all don't cross that line. Let's just make sure.
Good morning, colleagues. Today is Okefenokee Day at the Capitol. In the heart of Georgia, a natural treasure that epitomizes the state's ecology, richness, and cultural heritage, the Okefenokee Swamp is important to the state of Georgia. Beyond its vast expanse of captivating wilderness, and the swamp holds profound significance for Georgia. It serves as a sanctuary for diverse wildlife, including rare species like the red cock-headed woodpecker and the indigo snake, making it an invaluable hub of diversity. Today, join us down at 12 p.m. and 2:16 for Okefenokee Day at the Capitol. I encourage all of you to come. I believe there is a reptilian alligator here in the Capitol, so if you want a picture with the alligator, come on down. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great natural resource of Georgia, the Okefenokee. That completes our morning orders. You ready, Mr. Clerk? We'll move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1015?
House Bill 1015, by Representative McDonald of the 26th and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes so as to reduce the rate of tax. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
We're getting into some very important policy matters here. All members that want to have a conversation, please take it outside to the anteroom. Other members are very interested in House Bill 1015. Floor Leader of the Governor, Representative Lauren McDonald, is recognized to present the bill. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Today I bring you House Bill 1015 on behalf of Governor Kemp. In 2022, this House led with the leadership of Chairman Blackman in the reduction of income tax for 25 basis points, down from 5.99 to 5.49. Today, we're going to get to lead again. We're going to do an acceleration of the income tax with 10 more basis points. So that will be 36 basis points in 1 year. With this will be about $1.1 billion that the hardworking Georgians will not have to pay in this year's income tax bracket. So, gentlemen, that's the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions.
You have no questions. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I yield well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 1015. The yeas are 165, the nays 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1019? 1019.
House Bill 1019 by Representative Reeds, the 99th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to tax exemptions so as to increase the amount of a statewide homestead exemption. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
I've heard some talk about this, so come tell us about it. Representative Reeves is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your leadership as well as Chairman Shaw Blackman. I am proud to present House Bill 1019 to the House. This bill supports the American dream of home ownership in Georgia. by doubling the statewide homestead exemption. This is the first adjustment of the statewide homestead exemption since 1978. So it's been over 2 generations since this important statewide homeowner tax relief measure has been adjusted. If you think back about 1978, the average house in Georgia back then was $55,000. It's many times over that now. President Jimmy Carter was president. The longest serving House member, Dean Gerald Green, was still teaching high school in Southwest Georgia all throughout the school year. The Falcons had a player named Dewey McClain still playing for the team in 1978. And baby Zane Daniel, I was his age back in 1978. So it's been a long, long time. This gives good tax relief at a time that it's needed for people to buy their first home here in Georgia, hardworking Georgians, as well as for seniors to be able to buy a new home. This supports home ownership. It helps over 1 million homeowners in Georgia, and it is a great measure. It will double the homestead from $2,000 to $4,000. Mr. Speaker, I ask for favorable consideration from the House, and I yield for questions. You have no questions. Were you dating Representative McClain and myself to an ancient time frame? He was knocking people out and taking care of business back then, just like now. Quite the player. You do have a question. Representative Wilkerson is recognized for a question. To your left, to your left in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, Representative.
Over here. Back in the back. The other back. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Thank you for this great measure. Do you know approximately how much this will actually save a family? I know it's $2,000, but when you break it down to dollars-wise that people are saving, what is it per household?
It is different on the 159 counties. Based on the millage rate, it differs.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
In your home county, about how much? Because you're probably similar to us.
In Gwinnett County, we have 125,000 homeowners. We have the millage rate. It would be, around $100 or so a year, depending on the county. However, in Gwinnett County, the 21 House members put a homestead ballot measure on, which will increase the homestead above the statewide minimum.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1019, the yeas are 162, their nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 1021.
House Bill 1021 by Representative Daniel of the 117th and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Lauren Daniels is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this is a bill that is going to be great for the families of this state, and I'm very excited to present it today. It is House Bill 1021. Thank you. We talk a lot up here about simple bills, and the temperament is always to chuckle because our bills are not always simple, but this one truly is. And all it does is it increases the child tax deduction from $3,000 to $4,000. So that is an increase of $1,000 per child for every family in the state. And with rising costs on groceries, child care costs, and numerous other things that parents are responsible for, this will once again prove that the people of Georgia are looking for pro-family policies, and we are leading the way, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
I don't see any questions.
Thank you.
The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1021, the yeas are 165, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 871? 871.
House Bill 871 by Representative Perkle of the 169th and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48.5, 4080 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to homestead exemption by qualified disabled veteran, filing requirements, periodic substantiation of eligibility. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Perkle is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, colleagues. I'm not going to be long. My throat's a little scratchy. I bring you HB 871. Been some confusion in some counties as to whether or not the surviving spouse of a disabled veteran had to stay in the same county or, in some cases, in the same home that they lived in at the time of the death of the disabled veteran in order to keep a homestead exemption. This bill clarifies and provides consistency for the surviving spouse and minor children of disabled veterans as to the portability of this benefit. It does require 2/3 vote and a statewide referendum. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker.
You have a question, if you'll yield.
Yes, sir, I will.
Representative Gladney is recognized for a question. She's to your left, right in front of you there, Mr. Chairman.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Is it not true that as a veteran of this state, any benefit to a surviving spouse, this would substantially help that surviving spouse to continue to support her family, his or her family, and her well-being, and it would be in the best interest for this body to support that individual and that family?
Yes, ma'am. I actually agree with that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that you vote green in supporting the disabled, surviving spouse of disabled veterans and their minor children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He has yielded the well. We have someone who would like to speak in favor of the bill. Chairman Bonner will speak in favor. Chairman Bonner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today just to encourage everyone to vote green. I want to publicly thank Chairman Perkle for bringing this bill, and I think it's time for our House to send a message to our veteran spouse community. We do so many great things for our veterans each and every year, but oftentimes it's the spouses that we tend to ignore. And in this case, we're doing something for a spouse that has not only lived through their spouse's deployment and service, but they've also been there as their caregiver for so long. So when I say that it is the least we can do, I truly mean that. It is the least we can do. So I encourage you, we need a 2/3 majority. I would ask that we light up every name on that board in green and send a message to our veteran community that we care about your spouses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Thank you for your remarks. We have no further speakers on the bill, HB 871. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there an objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 871, the yeas are 168, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we have a couple more bills we're going to take up, but I'm going to move on with a further action. The chair recognizes Chairman Stevens for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 557.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the Conference Committee report?
The Committee on Conference on House Bill 557 recommends that both the Senate and the House of Representatives recede from their positions and that the attached Committee of Conference substitute to HB 557 be adopted. For the Senate, Walker the 20th, Huffstetler the 52nd, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd. For the House, Stevens of the 164th, Parrish of the 158th, Jan Jones of the 47th.
Chairman Stevens is recognized to explain the Committee of Conference report for HB 557. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some of you might recall this bill last year. It passed this House 173 to 2. It passed the Senate 52 to 1. And what the bill does, just to refresh your memory, it seeks to address the workforce healthcare challenges by, number one, expediting certain post-licensure procedures, nurse protocol agreements, and physician assistants job descriptions by the Composite Medical Board. It allows APRNs and PAs to provide their adult patients, only the adult patients, a 5-day emergency supply of certain Class 2 drugs. 48 other states do this. Georgia now would fall in line with those. It allows PAs and APRNs to authorize disability parking. And as you might recall, 10 o'clock the last day of the session, it got tied up in some unrelated language, and so we could not get it through the conference committee. And Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I'll ask for your...
You have a question, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to take
Yes, sir.
maybe one or two.
Sure.
Representative Al is recognized for a question to your right.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Isn't it true that when we voted on this bill last year, and when I spoke against the bill last year, I noted that while this legislation sounds well-intentioned, the last thing we need while our country and our state is in the throes of an opioid epidemic is more practitioners writing prescriptions for opioids?
And the question was last year, and as you might recall, the very same answer as the way pharmacists fill prescriptions. Physicians have what's called an NPI number that we insert in the computer. The physician assistants, which by the way has to have a year's working under that doctor before they can even move on, they have a separate NPI number. Both of those have to be matched up as we file that claim. So we know immediately with DEA, drugs and narcotics and others, if there's any games going on with overprescribing, but your point is well taken.
Thank you, sir.
You have another question, Representative Campbell to your left. Representative Campbell is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that this new substitute continues to include automatic agreements that transfer even if original delegating physician changes, and that this removes a layer of important oversight, as does the new supervising review that is limited not to all records supervised by physicians, but to a sampling of records?
The answer is, if you'll look on line 98, again, this is the same language. If the problem we've got with PAs and advanced nurse practitioners is that the backlog, and that's all this thing is addressing, is the backlog of the approval, and it's up to a year or more. So if the language is similar, whenever a physician has got one of these approved before, it follows that same language.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, yield for two more questions, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
They've been blinking the light. Whip Burchett to your front is recognized for a question. Whip Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that in rural Georgia there are certain providers only have a physician's assistant?
That was brought up in committee by one of the gentlemen in rural Georgia, and the physician assistant or the advanced APRN is their only health care provider. So thank you for the question.
Well, thank you for bringing the bill.
Chairman Dr. Newton is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your work on this bill. I know there was some question last year of whether refills of other Schedule II medications could be allowed. Is it true that this bill now strictly is the initial 5-day and just limited to really the pain medications that are needed?
The gentleman's correct, and also the visit has to be in person. Thank you for that clarification.
Would the gentleman further yield?
Certainly.
I appreciate you putting that in there. We do work closely with nurse practitioners and PAs, and this has the proper amount of concern about what was raised earlier about the opioid epidemic, which is still ongoing, but at the same time allowing needed medications for a very short term to be done in a responsible way. Isn't that true?
I thank the gentleman for the question, and that is true.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, if that's all, I'll ask for your favorable consideration and finally get this out and passed for the betterment of our especially rural Georgia, but all the backlog that we've had, and I'll ask for your favorable consideration.
Gentleman's done an excellent job, excellent questions, excellent job of answering the questions. On the adoption of the Conference Committee report on HB 557, all in favor of the adoption of the Conference Committee report will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose is Representative Ramon rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you. Is it not true that last year I shared that I was placed on a 5-day prescription for painkillers for a really bad infection, and found myself needing that medication a lot more, and had it not been for both a doctor and my spouse who is trained in this kind of stuff, I could have been on a very different path right now.
We're glad the lady's fine, and I do kind of remember that. So we appreciate you bringing that point back up. For what purpose is Representative Al rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that while this bill states a 5-day course of Schedule II narcotics, research has shown that even as little as a 3-day course of opioid use can increase the risk of opioid addiction for up to a year after?
I'm sure the lady believes very strongly what she states. All members voted. All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the adoption of the Conference Committee report on House Bill 557, the yeas are 132, the nays 35, and the Committee of Conference report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 945?
House Bill 945 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 18 to Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to state employees' health insurance plan so as to provide protection for covered persons under a state health plan when an in-network hospital becomes out-of-network. This bill, having referred to the Committee on Insurance Activity, recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Hawkins is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, for many years now, we're having a problem with our hospitals and insurers going out of contract with each other, leaving the patients out of network. Recently, our hospital, North Georgia Medical Center, on April the 30th, went out of contract with United Healthcare, leaving over 14,000 North Georgians without a hospital to go to, or the physicians network that they use for their health care that's affiliated with that hospital. I started meeting with the insurers and the hospital separately this spring and over the summer, and we have an agreement here between those two groups. What this will do is allow the state health benefit people to be able to stay in network despite or whatever the scheduled contract is that calls for between the insurer and the hospital. So this will be set on the calendar year of state health benefit, December 31st. So in plain English, if they go out of contract, cannot agree on a contract, you and your family and all the state employees will still be able to access that hospital as an inpatient. There will be a requirement of their contract signing with the state. And that is the bill, Mr. Speaker. And if there are no questions.
If you have a question, would you yield for a question?
I will.
Right out in front of you, Chair Lady Smith is recognized for a question.
Thank you so much for bringing this to the attention of the General Assembly. It's been a serious problem in my county, and I'm sure in several other counties.
Yep.
We have so many people who all of a sudden have huge bills and no relief. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, ma'am, for the comment.
You have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I ask for your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. House Bill 945, the yeas are 167, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. There- Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 970?
House Bill 970 by Representative Dickey, the 145th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Part 4 of Article 7, Chapter 3, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the REACH scholarship so as to provide that victims of human trafficking are eligible for such scholarship. This bill having referred to the Committee on Higher Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Important legislation. Give the chairman in the well, who will be in the well in just a second, your full attention. Chairman Dickey is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And colleagues, I bring you HB 970. This is an updating and funding modification for our REACH Scholarship Program. It's been, this program's been a real passion of mine ever since its inception. Many of you actually attend these signing ceremonies in your districts, I think, when they give out these very $10,000 scholarships to rising 8th graders and very deserving. Great ceremonies with their parents there, with school administrators, trying to urge these young students on to higher education opportunities. The bill realigns our state funding and local funding. As many of you know, it's a shared cost to fund these scholarships, and many of you may even contribute on a local level to these scholarships. A lot of our smaller schools have had issues on a local level raising the amount of money and limiting these scholarships. This bill will align it to $1,000 for our local commitments and $9,000 to our state commitment. I really thank President Lynn Riley over at Georgia Student Finance for supporting this program, keeping this program financially strong through the years, and has done a great job. It's in all 180 of our school systems, and look forward to continuing on. Thank you to the House and to the Governor for continuing to support and fund this program in our budgets. This also expands eligibility to victims of human trafficking. But the big thing is the financial realignment. But anyway, so that is all this bill does. It keeps it viable long-term for our young people, to encourage them to go on to higher education opportunities with this scholarship for their jobs and for other educational opportunities. I'll be happy to take any questions, Mr. Speaker, if there's any.
Gentleman has a couple of questions. Will you yield?
I will.
Representative Glaze is recognized for a question. She's to your left.
Does the gentleman yield?
do.
Is it not true that the REACH scholarship is a scholarship that connects to our middle academic students and give them an opportunity to earn scholarships before they get to college and continue to become the students and then the workers of this state that will continue to keep us moving forward.
It absolutely is, and I appreciate your involvement with this program on a local level and your support for it, so thank you.
Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for a question to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yeah, I do.
So I asked you this in committee, and I'm not sure if we ever got down to it, but when we are talking about human trafficking, are we talking about sex trafficking, labor trafficking, all of these things? How are we going to define who is a victim of human trafficking for the purposes of being eligible for this scholarship?
Well, these scholarships are, as you know, are awarded on a local level by school administrators, teachers, and maybe some person in the local community. So I think student finance, I think this is at the governor's request. I think we'll figure that out and try to do a definition of that. But just wanted to make sure those local systems understood that criteria would be helpful if it could be kept helpful if they needed it to be.
Thank you.
With that, Mr.
Well, you
Speaker.
got one more there, Mr. Chairman. I think if you're here from Representative Ramon, would you take one more?
Okay.
Right to front.
Hi.
Representative Ramon is
Thank you.
recognized for a question.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Thank you for bringing this bill forward. I just had a question on lines 46 and 47. I noticed those were crossed out. Does this mean that now more students can become scholars, or could this cause a drop of scholars?
It will be subject to funding. I hope we will continue our funding on a state level and higher. Part of it was with our tier system that really didn't match up very well to local school systems trying to raise their money. So that's why we went to the straight 9,000 and 1,000 funding. So thank you. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll
You have
leave the
one
well.
more that would be helpful, I believe. I promise this is the last one.
Whatever
Trust
you
me,
say.
Trust
you
me,
say,
it'll be
Ms.
the
Baker.
last one. It may be his last question if it's not a good one, too. I can tell you that. Chairman Martin is recognized for a question.
Chairman Dickey,
Yeah.
yield for a question.
I will.
Isn't it true that on line 46 and 47, what you are doing is limiting the limitation and instead
Yeah.
making it subject to appropriation, so it's unlimited number if the funds are available to get the scholarships? It was limited in certain counties, and you're removing the limitation. Isn't that true? So if
Thank
the
you, Mr.
money's
Chairman.
there
Much better said than I did, and much better explanation. Yes, we want to maximize all the scholarships we can do with this program, and the previous thing funding formula did do that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I'll leave the well.
I thought you did a great job explaining it. I got confused with this, but you straightened it all out. Thank you very much. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 970. The yeas are 165, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 333, 333?
Senate Bill 333 by Senators Dixon of the 45th and Still of the 48th, to be entitled an act to incorporate the city of Mulberry. This bill I referred to the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Local. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Majority Leader Estration is recognized to present the bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I present to you today Senate Bill 333. This bill would create the opportunity to have a new city in Gwinnett County called the City of Mulberry. I say the opportunity because it must be approved by local voters on a referendum in order for the city to take existence. The issue came about as the constituents that I represent, as well as Representative McCullum, who also represents some of the area here in the House, brought forward concerns about local government hearing issues of planning and zoning that were brought to them. And the process really worked from there, where a feasibility study was created to determine the fiscal impact of this proposed city, to analyze the potential expenses for the 3 services that would be provided under this charter, which are planning and zoning, inspections, and stormwater management. And then also through town halls that we've had within this area where the city would be. So we've had town halls in person as well as phone town hall, and have been able to take in input. They've been very well attended within our communities, and we've received very positive feedback from the proposal. If passed, this new city of Mulberry would be in northern and eastern Gwinnett. It's all unincorporated areas of Gwinnett County, so not taking from any existing city. And also, I think that it's important to note that as part of this charter, city property taxes would not be imposed. In other words, there would be no new city property tax, and that's very explicitly included here in this legislation. The ultimate concern about overcrowding on within schools or crowded traffic intersections, traffic congestion that's being dealt with right now, really those complaints that the constituents I represent have can be very effectively communicated to a city council as opposed to a county commission. Gwinnett currently has 4 commission districts with residents in each district of approximately 250,000 people. And this legislation is proposed would allow council districts, which would have a population of between 7,000 to 9,000. So rather than voicing concerns to the county commission, and no current county commissioner lives in this proposed area, residents would be able to actually contact a neighbor or someone who is much closer to the community that would be impacted to share their concerns about proposals for rezoning, particularly high-density rezoning, and how that would impact their area. Now, I'll just run through a few important notes. I'm very proud to say that I'm presenting Senator Clint Dixon's bill here today, and he represents the entire area in the state Senate that's at issue here. As I mentioned, both House members are supportive of this proposed city, but there is also a companion bill was introduced here in the House, and that had bipartisan support. So both political parties supported the legislation as introduced, members of both political parties. And I want to just make clear that this is a nonpartisan issue within the area impacted. Voters care about local control of planning and zoning, and they're asking for the ability to have this city on a ballot so that they can speak their voice about the need for local control. I'm aware that there's a minority report. I've seen it on the desk, and I'll just cite briefly to a few things that I think it's important for members to know. First of all, I want to mention that Gwinnett County has been terrific to work with. Gwinnett County has facilitated the providing of data so that the feasibility study could be completed. I'm aware that Gwinnett County has passed a resolution which has urged for adequate consideration to be given to the proposal. And it's my understanding that that same language or something very similar to that was passed by Gwinnett County back when the city of Peachtree Corners was proposed in 2011. And so it's not out of the ordinary for Gwinnett to take that position. This city proposal was modeled on Peachtree Corners because it's been a resounding success. Without imposing city property taxes, it's been incredibly responsive to the needs of the community and has provided effective local government. Now, additionally, it's raised in the minority report that this is an issue with the state constitution or with OCGA 363654. Well, I've had a chance to look into this. First of all, there's no case law stating that this proposal is unconstitutional. So there is no existing court order that would support that position. And I'd submit that this General Assembly has the ability to empower local residents to have self-governance, and that is consistent with the Constitution. OCGA 363654 deals with annexations. This is not an annexation. This is an incorporation of a new city. And so that is a completely separate issue. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I know that I'm between the members and getting to lunch and look forward to answering any questions that folks have on this, but I would ask for the members' favorable consideration. The residents of the district that I and Representative McCollum represent, I'd submit, ought to have the ability to weigh in on this issue, have the right to vote on it. And if it's something that's passed by voters to allow for greater local control in the area of planning and zoning and the other services mentioned, that this General Assembly should support that effort. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to yield to any questions and ask for the members' favorable consideration. Thank you.
The gentleman has a couple of questions, if you'll take them.
Yes, sir, I'll yield.
Representative Carter from the 93rd has a question. Back to your left, Representative Doreen Carter.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So as a lifelong resident of DeKalb County, I've seen my share of cities. And I tell you, the biggest thing that concerned me about what you just said, so help me with this, is no new taxes. We've recently had a city that the creator promised the people no new taxes. They did not tell the people about the franchise fees, but they have now assessed the tax. So does this legislation have language that would protect the potential new residents of a new city that they will never be assessed a property tax in this new city?
Yes, ma'am. To the extent we're able to in this legislation, we have done that. And let me just be specific.
Okay.
We have made clear, and it's an excellent question, thank you, Representative. We've made very clear that no city property taxes can be imposed by the city, and that if there ever were to be a proposal in the future, say through local legislation, that it must be approved by a referendum within the city. Now, we have also been very clear that the proposal here is to be cost neutral. In other words, monies that are currently being paid already, such as for franchise fees that are already collected by Gwinnett County, received by Gwinnett County, could be received by the city. Money that is currently being received by Gwinnett County, say through the title ad valorem tax right now, is the local contribution, that could be received by the city. And I'd submit to you that that is completely consistent with the objective. We have existing revenue that's collected, and there's a portion of that that goes to local governments, and that rather than Gwinnett County receiving those funds, that the city government would receive those funds. And that's consistent with what voters, I think, deserve, right? If you're paying a title ad valorem tax and there's to be a local government contribution, the city of Mulberry should receive whatever percentage of the revenue is, just like any other Georgian whose local government is receiving that.
Question, but
Yes, ma'am.
will the gentleman further your
Yes,
point?
ma'am, certainly.
Okay. As it currently stands, unless there's something different in Gwinnett, counties are not authorized to collect franchise fees. So when you incorporate a city, the city can. So in essence, I think when we're doing that, I think we need to just be real clear and honest with the folk. If they want it, great. But have you investigated, or is there something different in Gwinnett, where Gwinnett currently collects franchise fees because most counties in Georgia do not?
Yes, ma'am. It's a great question, and we've spent extensive time on this. And what I'll say is this. The only franchise fee that's currently being received by Gwinnett County that would be applicable is for cable TV. There is no other franchise fee, and the EMC provider for all of this area does not make any collection and would not under this new proposal. So to the degree that we're able to, I can say with confidence that we have run down I've run down every foreseeable possibility, because this is an important question that residents are asking. And the absolute objective is for there to be absolutely no additional revenue collected than what's already being received, and for there to never be any city property taxes. Yes, ma'am.
Gentlemen, yield. I have a couple more questions. I'm going to recognize Representative Adesanya, but I'm going to ask him to hold that question just for a moment. Members, you're welcome to ask your questions. We're going to thoroughly vet this issue, but I will remind you that the Rules Committee, in its wisdom, applied Rule 33.3 to this issue, and so we'll have, when we finish the presentation, we will have 30 minutes allocated to those in favor of the bill and 30 minutes allocated to those that are opposed to the bill. So we'll just make you aware of that. Representative, to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that the county commissioner that represents the proposed Mulberry City, the only Republican, Commissioner Holcamp, cautioned you all to slow down the process and carefully review the impact study? Isn't that true?
I have communicated with the commissioner that you've mentioned, both before this proposal got going and throughout the process. The commissioner voted in favor of a resolution consistent with the resolution that was passed during the formation of Peachtree Corners, as I understand it. But the commissioner, just to be clear, because I think maybe there was a statement made to the contrary in committee, the commissioner has not expressed opposition to this proposal, to my knowledge, and I've asked him about that. So I just think that that's important to distinguish, that the county commissioner has not opposed this proposal as was proffered in committee.
Thank you. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
Representative Hilton of the 48th is recognized for a question to your extreme left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that I have the distinct honor of representing the city of Peachtree Corners, the largest city in Gwinnett County in terms of population? And since our founding in 2011, our city has maintained a zero millage rate, and our residents continue to be excited to live in one of the best cities in all of Georgia.
Yes, sir, you do, and it is well known as a terrific city who does a terrific job for residents.
Thank you. Thank you for this bill.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I know that this issue is potentially going to be debated here today, so at this time I'll yield the well and ask the members for their favorable consideration. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. We'll now hear from those that will speak that are opposed and those in favor, and they'll have 30 minutes. And we'll also have the potential for the chair's time to be 20 minutes, and the minority report, which we do have, will be 20 minutes. So I'm going to recognize Representative Dewey McLean to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. You know, I rise to talk a little bit about SB 233. And the reason that I am is I want you all, before I go in a little deeper, you know, I want to say thanks to my wife that is hosting the neighborhood at the house, because I'm speaking not only to you all, but I'm speaking to them because they wanted, you know, for some reason I kind of knew that this was going to be today, and so they're having a little watch party at the house. So I want you all to know that I'm fighting for the constituents. I'm fighting for you all to realize that you all shouldn't pay anything. And the reason I'm saying it to you, Mr. Speaker, is that I moved to Gwinnett in 1978. And we always talk about that. I was 24 years old. And I bought a house on Pleasant Hill Road. And I say those things because I want you all to know that. Pleasant Hill Road was a 2-lane highway, 2 lanes. Now it's 6 lanes. Ronald Reagan dumps into it. I mean, no one's going to stop growth. And so what did we do? Well, even on Club Drive, we have a three-turn left turn lane. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, I know a lot of you all don't even have any idea what I'm talking about. But to make a left turn, there's 3 lanes that you can turn left on Pleasant Hill Road now. When I moved there in 78, it was a 2-lane road, and at the bridge of Yellow River, you had to pull over to the side. You had to pull over to the side to let the other car pass because it wasn't really big enough for 2 roads. So I don't have a problem with what's going on because it was 70,000 people in Gwinnett County. Today, we're what? We're 980,000, almost close to 1 million. And the reason I tell you all that is I want you all to know that I have no problem with people voting. I think people should vote on what they have. But it's only those 40,000 that are voting. It's not the 980,000 that are voting. There's 940,000 residents that will be affected by what you all do here today. I'm sorry. You got to realize, yeah, they're going to collect $9 million, but when you have a void of $9 million, what do you expect? Somebody's got to pick it up. Somebody's got to pick up that $9 million. It is not a free lunch. It is not a free breakfast. It's not a free dinner. And it's definitely not even a free snack. So who's going to pick up that $9 million? The other 940,000 people that did not have a say-so in how this money is being spent. Okay, let's go a little faster, a little further. You got 14 departments. You have 14 departments in Gwinnett County, 14. We're talking about a city that wants 3 out of 14. What kind of city could that be? They don't have fire. They don't have emergency. They don't have parks. They don't have recreation. What do they have? They want to control zoning. They want to control planning. They want to control stormwater. And I still ain't figured out what stormwater, how they going to get money off of stormwater. But I hear that. But what about the rest of it? Who are they going to have to pay for the rest of those services? Gwinnett County. And you think Gwinnett County, do you think, and I'll tell the leader, we had our first delegation meeting. I'm the chair of the delegation. We had a meeting, and I said one thing to him, and I'll say it to you all. My people say they don't care about a new city. They just don't want to pay any money. They don't want to be responsible for anything. Not one red penny. You can have as many cities you want, but don't put it on my back. Don't put it on mine at all. So all I'm saying to you all is that what we've got to do is slow this down. Let's talk about the timeline. I don't think we talked about the timeline. This was talked about in December. Okay, so on January the 5th, they take the county receives a proposal, the feasibility study, on that Friday, the 5th. And then on Monday, the 8th, when we come in, a bill is dropped. So what time do you think that the county had time to read or to do anything with their proposal? If you drop something to me on the 5th and you drop a bill on the 8th, I don't think that's enough time to do anything. So let's talk about it. So they drop a bill on the 8th. We fast tracking this. We're doing fast tracking. We're talking about the 8th. The day is what, February the 8th? So we're talking about within a month. We've got a bill pass, a local ad run, and we're here discussing this bill. We're discussing on something that's going to affect 940,000 residents. Not, a lot of you all don't have these residents at all. The problem that I have is that we're talking about election integrity. We always talk about election integrity in here. So you all let's think about this. So 42,000 people are going to have in May, they're going to have another something added to their election ballot that says that, do you want this to be a city or do you not want this to be a city? So I don't even know how the election office is going, how this is going to work. because they really don't know exactly where all the people are. And so what I'm saying to you all is that we don't need to be adding things at this time because, again, it's being fast-tracked. When I say it's being fast-tracked, it is definitely being fast-tracked. So I told you all about December. I told you all about January. February today is February the 8th, and we're going to have an election in May. We're going to do an election in May to see if this is going to be a referendum with these people. And then in November, we're going to elect 5 city council people and have a city. So, but now let's talk about this again. You got 5 city council from 5 different districts. They're going to represent between 7 and 9 people, and they're not going to elect a mayor. There's not going to be a mayor elected. So, they're going to elect the mayor from the city council, from one of those 5. So one person is going to be the mayor and the city council, and they're going to rotate every 2 years. But you only can serve 2 terms. So I don't know how all 5 of them are going to become the mayor. Because, you know, I mean, I do math, but 4 and 2 is 8. So if you can only serve 2 terms, somebody is not going to be the mayor within those 2 years. But then again, I really don't know what the mayor could do in 2 years. I have concerns. And my concern is that we should have done a lot of feasibility study. I mean, a real feasibility study. I mean, a real 2-year process. I'm not talking about a month process. I'm talking about a real 2-year process. I'm talking about something that even the feasibility study that they wrote, because I put things on your desk last week. Last week I put the proposed city of Mulberry that came. Some of you all had no idea what was on your desk, but I knew it was coming. I mean, I'm not. Why, baby? I'm not a magician or anything. I just want to make sure you know that. But what I want you to know is I put this on your desk for a reason, because I wanted you to read it. I wanted you to read it, and hopefully you did. So if you didn't read it, I'll put it back on your desk, but you're going to vote today. The only thing that I put on your desk, which was Tuesday, which was the reason that no one could say anything, it was the Board of Commissioners resolution. And it was a resolution urging the Gwinnett County Legislative Delegation, which I chair, and the Georgia General Assembly to carefully consider the impact of proposed municipality and the residents of Gwinnett County and the provisions of the services thereto. And then on the motion of Commissioner Holcamp. Now, Commissioner Holcamp authored this. He's the author of this resolution. He didn't vote on this resolution. He is the author. And you all had a copy. Every one of you had a copy, I know, because I put it on your desk Tuesday. And you may have thrown it in the trash, but he authored this resolution. This is not a resolution that he voted on. This is his resolution. It says, let me say this, on the motion of Commissioner Holcamp, which carried by a 5-0 vote to the Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners, hereby adopt the following resolution. This is an urgent resolution from Commissioner Holcamp. This is not from he voted on it. He authored it. So I don't want to hear this again about he voted on it. He authored it. 1. 2, we talked about this feasibility study. It's 29 pages. I was going to put it on your desk yesterday, but I didn't want to bother you all with some of the things. And the reason I didn't want to bother you all with some of the things is because I spent 4 hours reading it to make sure I understood it, and I did appreciate it until I got to the back page. And the back page says, this is the front page, but then the back page says, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies in reporting by the client, its agents, or representatives, or any other data source used in preparing or presenting this study. This is what it says on the back. So I spent 4 hours reading something that they don't hold responsibility to. And then in the committee, I heard a colleague say, well, what did he say? He said, this is standard. It is not standard, people. The University of Georgia does not have this on the back of their feasibility study. This is not on the back of their study. This is not on the back of the study of the Georgia State of University. This is not on the back. But what's on the back of this one is it says, no responsibility is assumed. So I spent 4 hours reading it, and I didn't want to let you all spend 4 hours reading it. what I want to do is, before I leave, Mr. Speaker, is I want people to understand something. I enjoy Gwinnett. I love Gwinnett. And I'm here to represent those 940,000 that did not have the opportunity to speak. I've got to speak for them because someone's got to pick up those funds. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I do have one thing that that I want you all to understand and understand me, is that I talked to a group of millennials the other night about what was going on with this, and they said, "Well, what do you think?" And I says, "Well, I think that what we need to try to do is slow this down. I think this needs to go through a real 2-year process. I say, well, like my mama told me about baking a cake. You bake a cake, it takes an hour to bake a cake. It takes 1 hour to bake a cake. I don't care, $350. If you turn it up to 700, it's not going to bake in 30 minutes. I am sorry. It will not bake in 30 minutes. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we all know that this should have taken 2 years, the minimum of 2 years to do a study, and let's think about it. But again, I'm going to go back to the millennials because I know that I've got other people that want to speak on this. But I want you all to know what I shared with my folks, and my folks said this. It's the city of Mulberry. Some people say, do it what it was with the city of Mayberry. But what I think that what my constituents are saying is they probably should change the name to the city of the freeloaders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I leave the well.
Gentleman was yielded well. He did have a question.
All right, Mr. Speaker, I'm about to leave the well because I have other colleagues and I took their time. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Let's see. Representative Adenia is recognized to speak to the bill.
Had to make a big adjustment there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise in opposition today to SB 333. And I think about the consequences of planning, foreseen or unforeseen. This city of Mulberry in Gwinnett will be added to 16 cities in a county that is close to 1 million residents. As I do believe in the process and respect the views of all my colleagues in this legislation, I also want us to respect the views of those that are locally elected and represent the interest of our community. Whether they represent municipalities, county, they all should have a voice in how we are impacted. Now, this city is proposed to be the largest city with a population of 42,880 people and a land mass of 26 miles, which would be the largest city in Gwinnett County. And I do believe by hearing the voices in Gwinnett County, you will understand that this is a big deal. So we should take the time to listen to some of the voices of those who have spent years in several meetings in planning on the direction on how we grow and how we sustain the services we provide to our citizens. I'd like to reference the resolution that my esteemed colleague had mentioned, Chairman of our delegation, Dewey McLean. And this resolution, again, was authored by Commissioner Holtkamp. And it reads, entitled, "A Resolution Urging the Gwinnett County Legislative Delegation and the Georgia General Assembly to carefully consider the impact of the incorporation of the city of Mulberry on the residents of the proposed municipality, and all residents of Gwinnett County and the provisions of services thereto. Please keep in mind that the city that we're talking about is being created in District 4, of which Matthew Holcamp, who is the Republican commissioner that sits on our county commission, is a resident. He lives in that district where the city is supposed to be formed. So he does have a view on residents who he represents in that district. And he has spoken by authoring this resolution. I'll just talk on a few experts here because I think it's important. We need to point them out. One, if incorporated as currently proposed, the city of Mulberry will be the second largest city in Gwinnett. A big deal. It has consequences. During the past year, Gwinnett County has been engaged in the process of developing a 2045 Unified Plan, utilizing extensive community engagement and input to reflect Gwinnett's dynamic communities, unique cultures, and diverse need. They put a unified plan that included planning with 16 cities. Can you imagine the disruption if this new city is created? We have to go back to that plan. And what would it look like? And what are the consequences? These are real consequences that can happen if that city is created. Further reads, the municipal incorporation process is customary to a 2-year process, allowing for the careful study and review of the statutory requirements for incorporation, the financial feasibility of the proposed municipality, and the impact on service provided within the county, and its service delivery strategy. It's going to disrupt the services that are being provided by the county. It's going to disrupt the way they do business if we don't give them the adequate time to study what the impact will be. And these are the voices of our county commissioners who are elected by the people, also living in District 4. I further would like to share the voice of the Gwinnett County Attorney, Mike Ludwigczak. He spoke to the committee while they deliberated on this. And one of the things I want to point out, he said, as governing authority of the county, the Board of Commissioners has responsibility to represent the interests of all its residents, both in unincorporated and incorporated areas. All its residents. His concerns, and again, consequences, will be one, loss of revenue to Gwinnett to a minimum of $9.1 million annually. And that was just an estimate. The county has not had the opportunity to do a feasibility study. And that is what they're asking for. Let us do a feasibility study so we can adequately deliberate and understand the impact. Further, want to point out, we talked about Peachtree Corners. The process that Peachtree Corners went took 2 years. A city not as large as this proposed city. 2 years, and the adequate deliberation was done. And that's why Peachtree Corners has had successful growth in the last few years, because there was adequate planning. I'd like to say, democracy is a team sport in making decisions, and we should closely consult all stakeholders. Yes, our stakeholders are our voters, our elected officials, our county elected officials, and our delegation. And our delegation wasn't given the adequate time to be consulted. Our county commissioners were not given the adequate time to be consulted. And that is why they have asked for more time so we can properly deliberate and have a conversation on how to be successful as Gwinnetians. I personally have had the opportunity to live on 3 continents, 3 countries, 9 cities, and I know it's a big deal that anything we do in our communities, the decisions we make, have consequences. For me right now, creating that city will have consequences. I urge my colleagues in this House to give us time to deliberately plan and discuss and give our leaders, both state and local, an opportunity in making this decision. I leave by saying I'm in opposition to SB 333. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Clark to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in opposition to SB 333. Whenever a new city is formed, there is a lot to consider. What services will it provide? How much will it cost to provide those services? How will the revenue generated to pay those costs? How will the revenue be generated to pay for those costs? How will the cost of other services that are not provided for by that city be paid? What are the effects on the county that will lose some of its revenue? What are the effects on the people that will live there and the businesses that are located there? And that's just a few of the things we need to consider. And this is why the committee that normally hears bills on the incorporation of new cities has a very well prescribed formula for any cityhood to be able to pass out of that committee. For those that do not serve on the Governmental Affairs Committee, you may not know that unlike most other committees, the rules of this committee is actually multiple pages long. It's not that one pager. And it gives very specific instructions for the incorporation of cities. Here are those instructions. Quote, any bill or resolution coming before the committee that proposes the incorporation of a new municipality shall be considered only if the bill is introduced during one legislative session, studied over the interim between the sessions, and then brought up for committee action in the next regular session. So in other words, bills must be introduced in the first year of a 2-year term, studied after session ends, and then brought back to the committee during the second year of the 2-year term. The rule even specifically states that even if you want to introduce a bill in the second year of the biennium, you can do that, but then you'll have to reintroduce that same bill in the first year of the next biennium in order for that bill to be considered. So no matter what, this is a 2-year process. The rules also state that a comprehensive feasibility study conducted by either Carl Vinson at UGA or Andrew Young at GSU or another public institution affiliated with the University System of Georgia must be provided 60 days before the session starts. It's not even been 60 days since this bill was introduced for city bills to be considered. So, 2-year process and a feasibility study done by a public institution. The bill you will vote on today has done neither of these things. This bill started only a month ago, and the feasibility study conducted was done by a private firm that takes no responsibility for the data that they presented. And that was only made public 48 hours before the bill was actually introduced to this body. The sponsor and its supporters will point out that the rules don't apply to them. The rules don't apply to them because the bill did not go to the Governmental Affairs Committee, but instead went to the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. And they technically are right. This bill, unlike every other cityhood bill that you all have had to pass for your districts,
we have had to incorporate a new city, had to go through the Governmental Affairs Committee, but this bill was allowed to circumvent that process. So basically, the rules don't apply when it comes to this particular measure. The process that we have followed up to today cheats the people. The process we are following right now could have residents in that area paying very high fees. Yeah, they might not be paying higher property tax, but they could be feed to death. And then if they can't pay those fees, that city can put a lien on their home and take their home from them. The county has graciously asked for this process to slow down just to the normal 2-year process that's followed by every other cityhood in here. If you are a legislator and you have tried to pass and incorporating a city in your area, you had to go through a 2-year process. Why should one of your colleagues get to cheat that process? The commissioner in this area, Matthew Holtkamp, the sole Republican on the commission, has also asked for us to slow this process down. So if the person who they say wants this measure is the same person who has asked us to pump the brakes, then why are we mashing on the gas? Additionally, members of this very chamber, our colleagues, have also asked for this process to be slowed down and that this be a 2-year process. In fact, they want it to be the law of the land. There is bipartisan support for a 2-year process with a bill that would codify this process that passed out of committee, subcommittee, and committee unanimously, Democrats and Republicans. What we are asking for today is not a Democratic position. It's not a Republican position. It's not even a partisan position. It is a value position. It is a democracy position. As my Republican colleague and the sponsor of that bill that would codify this process so eloquently stated, and I most certainly agree, incorporating a city is an important process. It is one of the most fundamental local government decisions that can be made and have a direct impact on people's lives. We don't really need it to be that simple. It needs to be intentional and it needs to be fair for all involved. That is a person in here that is not in my party. It is in the party of the person that is bringing this bill forth. So I've been here long enough to know that rules can be bent and bills can be stalled, and that the outcome for this effort was decided well before I sit in this well right now. But I will ask anyway, on the behalf of the people of Gwinnett, who I am talking to right now, that are being denied the basic courtesy of following the process and getting all the information that they need to make an informed vote. Please vote no on this bill today and allow this process to be done right. And with that, Madam Speaker, I yield the well.
That concludes those who signed up to speak against the bill. The chair recognizes Representative Martinez to speak in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise here today in support of SB 333, as this area that we're discussing is right next door to me. See, I represent the Kula. Speaker, colleagues, this is God's country. This is God's country. This is a beautiful landscape in this area that we're talking about. A beautiful, diverse community, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Beautiful parks. I drive this area often. I know a lot of folks in this area. Safe environment, beautiful area. You see, I was a mayor in a city council once. I represented the city of Loganville. A couple of years ago, we tried to develop our downtown Main Street, and we had a developer ready to roll. Money, we had everything going. What we didn't have was the people. The people came to our city council meeting and they spoke up. They spoke up, and rightly so, they spoke up. We heard them, And this development downtown Main Street was held. We didn't do it, even though the developer was ready to roll. They spoke up. We listened to them. It was only 16,000 of them. In Walton County, there's 100,000 folks. 16,000 people in the city of Loganville spoke up, and we listened to them. And this development, as of today, has not happened. Minority Party talks about choice. I hear choice all the time. Favorite word. A couple months ago, we talked about candidate of choice. I think I heard that a lot. Candidate of choice. Let's give the people in those districts a choice. Let's give them a choice to elect their folks. Well, that's what I like to say. Let's give them a choice. The lady said, this is not a Democrat issue. This is not a Republican issue. You're absolutely right. I cannot agree with you more. This is a choice issue. Choice. We're giving them a choice to vote on a referendum. If they don't want it, kind of what happened in Loganville, we gave those people a choice. If they don't want it, they'll knock it down. If they want it, they'll vote for it. But we're giving them a choice. Isn't that what we talked about a few months ago? Candidate of choice? I thought that's what we talked about, right? We're giving the folks a candidate. We're giving them a choice. You know, we're giving those 42,000 folks a choice to see if they want to do something. I love Gwinnett County. Boy, I love my delegation, just like the chairman, Chairman Dewey. I'm the vice chair of the delegation. I love my county. I really do. I do remember one thing a few months ago, a few years ago, when the redistricting came by, and I said, if you're going to have me represent, I want some part of Gwinnett County, because I love it. I love it. I also represent Walton County, but I love Gwinnett County. I love the people. I love my 21-member delegation. We all get along. We may disagree on some issues, but we all get along. Do you know that there's 1 million people, close to it, 1 million people, 21 delegates, House delegates in Gwinnett County? You know there's only 4 commissioners? 4 commissioners? The other county that I represent, Walton County, has under 100,000. We'll say 100. You know how many commissioners are in Walton County? 6. Each one of them represent about 16,000. That's pretty good representation right there. Each one of Gwinnett County's representatives represent 250,000. I remember a few months ago we talked about voices. The voices are not being heard, right? Remember that? Remember that debate we had back in December? Voices are not being heard. You tell me, we represent 60,000, right? And you tell me it's hard for us, ain't it? It's hard for us to listen to all the complaints, to represent 60,000 people. Imagine having 4 times as much, 250,000 for each commissioner. I haven't done the homework, but I believe out of all 159 counties, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe out of all 159 counties, Gwinnett County commissioners are the ones that represent the most. Walton County, 16,000. 6 commissioners for 10% of what Gwinnett County has for about 100,000. Those folks are not being heard. I can tell you right now, those folks are not being heard. I don't care, Latino, black, white. Like I said, this is a diverse community. Those folks are not being heard. And I stand here, colleagues, for you to support this. Let's give the folks a choice. Like I said, it's not Republican. Nah. It's not Democrat. No. It's the people's right to decide what they want. And we talk about this all the time. It's the people's right to decide what they want to do with their city. Let them cast their vote. Let them cast their vote. Like I said, we talked about this 2 months ago, right? Vote. Vote, vote, vote. We talk about voting. We talk about choice, right? I hear some folks don't want to let the people decide. I hear that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing some people say, you don't have the right to vote whether you want a city or not. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing that. Let's put this on the referendum. Let the people decide. I'm right next door. That's my area. I'm right next door. I know a lot of people there that would love the chance to stand in line, come when the time comes, and vote. Have their voices heard. Isn't that another thing we heard? Boy, I tell you, we're coming back 2 months. Have the voices heard, right? Let's have their voices heard, 42,000 of them. Let's have their voices heard. I now yield for any questions. If I don't have any questions, I'll yield the well.
There are questions if you would like to address them. The chair calls on Representative Cannon for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Do you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you explain to me why you feel like this does not need to go through the original process and why this bill coming in this form is ethical?
That's a good question. My point is that, like the majority leader talked about, people complained, whatever their complaints were, about that area. And I really believe, as a local mayor, and I showed you my example about we wanted to build, and I was in favor. I was in favor of developing my downtown, but the people spoke. It wasn't the whole county, but 16,000 people in Loganville spoke, and the development held. I believe, Ms. Park, people had the right to choose what they want, including what they choose to live, whether it's a city or not. So I really believe in that. I believe in freedom. Give the people the choice. Let them go vote. Put it on a referendum. Lay your cards out there. Lay them out there and show me. Vote. And this is what we've been talking about for a while now. 2 months ago, we did the special session, and we talked about this, and I'm very passionate about that.
Do you further yield?
I will.
So just to clarify, you feel as though this process, the way that this legislation has moved, is ethical and puts into the considerations of this House's rules about how local measures get passed?
I believe it's ethical.
Okay, thank
I really do. I think it's right. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Okoye for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Do you yield, Ray?
Absolutely, Mr. Okoye.
Okay. What I understand that is being asked today is that we have time to vet what is being proposed before we now let it go to the public and the 42,000 people to vote in a referendum. Nobody says no to other people voting, but we are asking that there's no need to rush this at all. And I'm also perplexed when I heard you talk about the number of commissioners we have in Gwinnett County. When I was party chairman in Gwinnett County, I proposed that we increase to 9. It was later brought down to 7, but some people even did not want the 7. And today it's being used as a point. And so my question is, why don't you give the people, the county commissioners and the stakeholders a chance to vet this properly so that when we present this for a referendum, people will know exactly what they are being asked to vote for? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Okoye, I do agree about the commissioners. I think 250,000 is way too much for each commissioner, and this is something that we may have to talk about. In other words, it boils down to these. 42,000 people in that area have spoken, loud and clear, and that's what they want, and I believe this is what they deserve, their voice to be heard. All right. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Anderson to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be one. I have spent a lot of time in the last few years working in this space, looking at 2 years ago as the chairman of our cityhood subcommittee, looking at many feasibility reports, many pieces of legislation regarding doing that. It's no secret that I am in the process of looking at this policy and getting help from many people in this chamber to do that. But I'm here today to talk about facts, okay? And some misconceptions and some things that you may have heard that just aren't so. First of all, there's been the assumption that this process that we're looking at today is unconstitutional. There is nothing in the Constitution that prevents this from happening. And as our leader had said earlier, the presenter of the bill, there's been no case law to that effect. Our Constitution addresses supplementary powers. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I do know the difference between may and shall. And in addressing supplementary powers, it says that counties and municipalities may provide from a list of supplementary powers, and there's 14 of them listed in the Constitution. So it's not a constitutional issue. So let's look at state code. A reference was made earlier to 3654 dealing with annexation that does not apply. This is a new city creation. In our state code, the only place that could potentially have an impact on this is in 3630, paragraph 7.1, which defines basically an active municipality. An active municipality meets 3 standards. The first standard is it has to provide 3 services. There are 11 listed in the code there. The 3 services proposed for this city meet and are in that list of 11. The second provision is they have to hold meetings, at least 6 meetings on a regularly scheduled basis. They must be public, they must be recorded. This bill provides for that. The third is they must hold regular elections to allow the people to elect the officials that are representing them. It's simple. This bill not only complies with state law, it not only complies with our Constitution, it goes beyond that. Our state law does not require a referendum, this bill does. Our state law does not require the provisions in here regarding taxation, this bill does. If we must have government, it must be responsive government, and the most responsive government is the government closest to the people. So I urge you to support Senate Bill 333. And Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. That concludes the statements from those in favor of and opposed to. We will now move on to the minority report. Whip Park is recognized for up to 20 minutes. Whip Park. The gentleman has the well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to SB 333, and I want to make clear a few points. First and foremost, myself along with my Democratic colleagues, we support the ability for the residents living in the proposed area to have the freedom to vote and determine whether or not they want a new city. My understanding is that that is why there was bipartisan co-sponsorship of the House version of this bill that was properly assigned to the House Governmental Affairs Committee. As Democrats, as a party of the people, we believe in the right for Georgia citizens to vote to determine their future, and we will always fight to secure that right. My opposition and the opposition of my Democratic colleagues, along with some bipartisan opposition at the local level, is that this process is moving way too quickly. And for me, in my understanding, this proposal violates the Georgia State Constitution, Georgia state law, along with long-standing legislative rules that require a deliberative 2-year process, legislative rules that prohibit city-light proposals like this one, and legislative precedent that requires a fiscal impact and service delivery study prepared by a public academic research institution, not a private consultant based on outdated data. My colleagues and I oppose this bill because we believe the citizens of Gwinnett County should have the freedom to vote on a legal proposal that will not lead to litigation and be provided with accurate information so they have the ability to make an informed decision to determine their future. Throughout this entire process, all we have asked for is for there to be a careful, deliberate planning process that occurs over a 2-year period that is the customary process for the creation of new cities. So a few things have been said about during this debate, which I'd like to further discuss before I get back to my remarks. But one, taxes cannot be imposed by this city. Yes, that is what the bill says, but that is not what the state constitution permits. As we have discussed Peachtree Corners, which is a model example of a great city here in the state of Georgia, which followed a 2-year process. 5 years after that city charter passed, that city charter had to be amended back in 2018 to cut out those provisions that otherwise limited the ability for the city to collect taxes and to have a referendum in order to remove those powers. So keep in mind, especially for the voters in this area, if you vote for this city, you are voting for a new city that can impose taxes on you, period, under the state constitution. Number two, it's been said multiple times that there is no case law on this issue. There is no case law because city charters have been amended to comply with the state constitution, just like this city charter, if it passes, if the voters approve it, will have to be amended to comply with the state constitution or otherwise be subject to litigation in which those provisions that are unconstitutional will be severed, which again will allow this new city to impose taxes on its residents. Now, much has been said about local control by the proponents of this cityhood bill, despite the actions taken by those same people, those same legislators, who over the past few years have taken action to undermine local control and the will of the people in Gwinnett County. While the proposed city falls only within the district of one member, the implications of this bill would impact every citizen in Gwinnett County, the second largest county by population in the state, by requiring a forced and premature negotiation of the existing comprehensive service delivery strategies approved by the Department of Community Affairs in 2020, that's not up for renegotiation up until 2029, which will result in changes to service costs charged to all of Gwinnett's residents. As this local bill would have a county-wide impact. And yes, a city charter is a local bill, but because it has a county-wide impact, it is only fair and reasonable that the support of the local delegation should be required, or at a bare minimum, requested. However, just like previous efforts to bypass a local delegation and forcibly take action without regard for the disruption and harm it may cause to one's neighbors or constituents of a fellow legislator, again, this body is manipulating the rules, bypassing the rules to put a politician's politics before the best interests of the people. Per Article 3, Section 3, subsections B and C, of the Gwinnett delegation's bylaws, which have remained the same under both Republican and Democratic majorities, all members of the Gwinnett County House delegation shall be eligible to sign legislation affecting Gwinnett County, and a majority of those legislators eligible to sign must sign in order for any legislation to pass. Repeatedly, the actions of today's Republican Party demonstrate they think that the rules apply to everyone except for them, that they are above the law. Now, if this bill passes, which I assume it will, given the prior actions taken by the majority party that again has repeatedly undermined the will of the people in the most diverse county in Georgia, I think it is important for those who are going to vote on this proposal to at the very least have accurate information on what they are voting for, despite the statement from the Senate sponsor of this bill in committee, who said that he thinks it would be best to have residents vote on this issue first and then conduct studies and be provided information after they vote. This unconstitutional city-like proposal has been pitched as one that will be prohibited from collecting property taxes to fund services for this new county, for this new city, that the services provided will be limited. Again, those restrictions are legally unenforceable under the Georgia State Constitution. That means if voters vote to approve this new Mulberry City, they are also voting to create a new governmental entity with the power to impose property taxes and utility franchise fees, and can do so without a voter referendum, regardless of the provisions in this bill. How do we know this? That's exactly what happened with Peachtree Corners, a fabulous city that I support, that went through a 2-year process, again, which I mentioned previously, that was amended 5 years after it passed to remove similar unenforceable restrictions in its charter on services and the requirement that a voter referendum approve any new services. Residents in Peachtree Corners, look up the article, stated that they felt bamboozled and were provided false information. Now, by no means am I trying to imply that false information is being provided, perhaps a difference of opinion and interpretation regarding the state constitution and this bill. But given the precedent, certainly with what happened in Peachtree Corners, it seems clear that if voters pass this bill, there will be unconstitutional provisions in that bill that will otherwise be severable. At the very least, I hope Mulberry residents will be provided the facts and the truth and not lied about this city that, again, will have the power to impose property taxes on top of existing county taxes and fees. It has been further noted that this proposal violates state law with respect to imposing restrictions on Gwinnett County's ability to make modifications to zoning that may result in a costly challenge to defend the legality of a moratorium, and it seems the city does not even meet the statutory legal density requirements for a new city under Georgia law. Given the rushed nature of this proposal, it is understandable that some legal aspects may have been overlooked, but I do think that it is further evidence and proof as to why a 2-year period of time is needed and respectfully requested to ensure that any new cityhood proposal is carefully and deliberately created to ensure it complies with the Georgia State Constitution and Georgia state law. Now, one thing that I've struggled to understand about this entire process, again, is the rushed timing. What is the emergency that we're trying to address here? I heard that this issue first stemmed from citizens' desire not to have a high-density development project in and around that area. That proposal was withdrawn, and as far as I'm aware, there are no pending development proposals in that area. It seems to me that we've seen a responsive, we've seen responsive county government in this area. Now, the other thing I've been a little bit surprised about is the immediate reaction to grow government, stifle growth, coming from the party that supposedly purports to be the party of limited or small government and the free market. Now, I also think it's important to note that the area of this new city is represented by a Republican county commissioner who was elected after this body bypassed a local delegation in 2022 to draw a majority white district in the most diverse county in Georgia that knocked out the first black woman in 200 years elected to the Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners, an insurance executive of 25 years, a good woman and a community leader. In this area, we have Republican representation at the local, state, and federal levels of government, but apparently that's still not good enough. Again, the solution that's coming in this proposal is more government, to grow government. Rather than have one person at the local level to hold accountable, if this bill passes and if the referendum is supported by voters in that area, you will have at least 5 people who, yes, will be closer to the people, but will also hold more power over the people, including, again, the ability to impose property taxes and other franchise fees. Now, as I raise the concern of this proposal growing government, just like a failed proposal from 2021 that would have doubled the size of local government in Gwinnett County, it was implied that if I carried my concerns to its logical conclusion, that I meant that purportedly I would support the abolishment of all governments. That is a nonsensical conclusion, all due respect. With respect to the size of government, the creation of new cities, the redrawing of legislative lines, I was provided excellent common sense advice in the midst of redistricting a few years ago, in which, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Gwinnett County is a thriving, diverse county with a AAA bond rating, a $2.5 billion annual budget. It's been concerning to hear my county castigated, in which, for the most part, all of the county professional staff that have ensured this county's success, they've been there for decades. They've worked under Republican and Democratic control. That's why Gwinnett continues to succeed and thrive, because of the professionalism of our staff and because of the great public schools, along with all of the other services that this county provides to nearly 1 million people. And so for my part, I will continue to do everything within my power to ensure all of the people of Gwinnett County, just not a select few, have every opportunity to have their voices heard here in this body and every opportunity to grow and thrive. When all is said and done, again, I support the right of Georgia citizens to determine their future and the right to vote to create a new city. However, I also strongly believe that Georgians should be provided the facts and accurate information as to what they are voting for. Accordingly, because of the rushed process of this bill, its unconstitutional provisions, and the lack of accurate information as to actual cost of services, not only to residents but in this area, but for all citizens who call Gwinnett home, I urge members of this body to vote no, to ensure this cityhood bill process goes through a careful and deliberate process. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield for any questions, and if there are none, I will yield the well.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman, yield the will. Thank you, Whip Park. That concludes the minorities report. The chair's time is now available for up to 20 minutes. Chair Lady Camp, chair of the committee from which this issue came, is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for being here today and listening to the debate on this. We also debated this for an hour in intergovernmental coordination meeting Tuesday afternoon. I think it's important, something has been said about this not being vetted through committee. How committees assign bills is not my purview. It was assigned to the committee. It was done as every general bill would be done. It was presented. Everyone had an opportunity to come and speak reference to the bill. The bill passed the committee after some very vigorous debate over the hour, and we're here today, again, vigorously debating this point. The process of the bill, that's kind of into question. I know handling the process in our committee was done with the utmost attention. The clerk's office was involved as well. There was someone from the Office of Reapportionment and someone from Legislative Council present during our meeting to make sure that any questions that arose could be addressed. I would like to yield the balance of the remaining time to Speaker Pro Tem and the Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Lady. The Chair Lady has yielded the remainder of the time to the Speaker Pro Tem, Jan Jones, and Representative Jones is recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just didn't want this opportunity to pass me by. I had not planned to speak, but so many of the members of this body came in since we started the process and the interest in folks creating new cities, primarily in the largest cities, or largest counties in our state. And 19 years ago, every Democrat voted against the creation of Sandy Springs. In fact, the county commission, just as in the case of the city of Mulberry, passed a resolution. In fact, reading it yesterday in committee, they must have passed it around because it looked virtually the same as the resolution opposing the city of Sandy Springs by the county commission. 1 year later, we created the cities of Milton and Johns Creek. Again, the same rhetoric that I'm hearing today, the same objections. It'll destroy the rest of the city, the rest of the counties. The rest of the county will have to pay for it. Certainly 19 and 18 years later, that's not been the case. And then 1 year later, 17 years ago, we voted to create the city of South Fulton, which at the time, then and now, a Democrat African-American majority city. And the county commission once again opposed it. In fact, the most vociferous opposition came from the African-American Democrat county commissioner that represented that area, unincorporated South Fulton. That effort, which we supported, the Republican majority supported the right of that area to self-determine. It passed in this body, it passed in the Senate, it was signed by the governor, but it failed amongst those who lived in the city of South Fulton by a great majority. A year or two later, a couple years later, this body once again supported the members who represented that area and the people to take another vote. Once again, what was interesting that time is that the very commissioner that represented the area that actively fought the creation of City of South Fulton, after it passed the second time, ran for mayor and served as mayor until he was beat by a member who sits in this body today. And at the time when we first passed it, the county commissioner gave all the same reasons we're hearing today. And of course what I suspect is he didn't like that he was going to lose his direct control over that area as the district commissioner, but once it passed, well then he hopped over and decided to run for mayor. But I would like to remind, or maybe not remind, but illuminate to those of you who weren't here and didn't observe these fights on this floor of the creation of about a dozen cities, and a handful have failed, and that's called local decision making. Let them decide what they want and how they want to be governed. But the county commission of DeKalb County and Fulton County, they did not support, they opposed the city of Chattahoochee High, the city of Tucker, the city of Dunwoody, the city of Brookhaven, the city of Sandy Springs, the city of Milton, the city of Johns Creek, the city of South Fulton, all of whom are thriving cities today, most of whom's residents wouldn't even know that they live in a new city. They just know that they have local control, and the decision making is made by neighbors and friends that they know far more than the size of these counties that are, I will remind you, Gwinnett County is larger in population than 6 states in the Union. And that is also true of Cobb County and Fulton County. We're not seeing a breakout all over the state of interest in creating cities because most of you represent counties where people feel like they have local control. They may live in the county seat or they may live in a city, but for the most part, city means city. It means generally where most of you live, higher density, Most often, the city has a police department if it's large enough. They have sewer, they have water, and the county means what most people think of county. It means rural, it means the country. But that's not true when you get into a densely populated area like the metropolitan area. Particularly our 4 large counties, operate like mega cities in many respects, in that they have water, they have sewer, and they're making city-like decisions, but people don't feel like they have elected influence. That's what these people, most people who approve a city in their area want. They want elected influence. They're still going to be a part of the county, and they're still going to be paying county taxes, and it really surprises me. It has surprised me in every instance why the counties have opposed it, such as Gwinnett this time. I've heard about the density. I don't know the density of the city that we're about to, I hope that we will vote today to give those people that right to vote. But I will mention that the city I represent, the city that I had a hand in creating, was less dense than the city that we are under consideration today. It was 19,000 people, and it was over 25 square miles. But it is a thriving city today, and it passed by 86%, and I would venture to say if we held a revote, it would pass by a higher vote. I've heard the argument that the rest of the county residents will have to make up the monies that this city will collect. I heard that in every argument, every debate of the approximately 12 cities or so that we've created here, and it's simply it's a misrepresentation of what happens. This city will offer 3 very limited services: zoning, code enforcement, and stormwater. They will collect monies for services not rendered now by the county. So they will collect monies for services that the city will supply. I would hope that the county wouldn't increase their taxes for services they're no longer rendering, but if they do, I hope you'll hold them accountable at the election box. It's been said, but the 7,000 or 8,000 folks that each city council member will represent replaces, only for those 3 very narrow services, 250 county commissioners that represent 250,000 people. That is, by most people's definition, not very, I would not consider that local governance. And I will say in Fulton County, which is now, and I'm not suggesting this for any other county, but it certainly works for ours, we are essentially fully municipalized, and in a 1 million person county, the Democrat majority cities and the few remaining Republican majority cities get along much better than we did when we sort of had haves and have-nots. We had the haves in Alpharetta and City of Atlanta who felt like they had local governance, and we had the have-nots, the great unwashed, like where I lived, the unincorporated residents who felt like we didn't really have anyone representing us on the most local, intimate decisions by local government. And we now have intergovernmental agreements between the cities. Even the cities adjacent to the new cities that opposed it get along much better today. And in fact, I think it works much better. I think if you were to ask most of the commissioners, they would not want to go back to the days of where they had to provide some of the services that cities provide today. But I would encourage you to support this measure today, and as we've seen across the state, I don't know what the outcome of the decision, the referendum will be, but I really do believe that more governments in a county of 1 million people is less government, because it is government closer to the people, and really what government closer to the people means, it means more elected influence. That's what government closer to the people means. More elected influence. And I don't suggest that model for where the vast majority of you live that are sitting in this chamber today. And I have not seen a movement in the 19 years that we've had these sorts of proposals come through the legislature. As for the process, it's been an evolving process. It's changed depending on the measure, the circumstances, and if there was a sense of urgency by the people who appeared to want to have the opportunity to vote. And so I just ask that you give consideration to the legislators who represent this area, and I would say are closer to the people than the county commissioners who might oppose it, who represent 250,000 persons each. And with that, I will cede the remainder of the time to the majority leader.
Majority Leader F. Stration is recognized to finish up the time, chairman's time. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to cover a few brief points here. If y'all could have been with me and Representative McCollum and Senator Dixon at the town halls that we held in this area, it was not political. It was not partisan at all. There was overwhelming support. Residents crying out saying we need local government that'll listen to us. We feel like we're being heard, where we can get some responsiveness. It was nonpartisan. And unfortunately, this issue, just when it hits this Capitol building, suddenly becomes partisan, suddenly becomes divisive in some way. And this issue brought up, the point was made that, well, this originated because there was a zoning proposal, and that proposal went away. Yeah, the proposal went away and was withdrawn when this city was proposed. This city was proposed originally in November. It was done so with the Gwinnett County knowing about it, with there being ample time prior to the legislative session, because it was said and Atlanta media covered that a city was going to be proposed at the upcoming legislative session, fully open about that. Now, I just want to cover the process here briefly. I think what's been described is correct, but the process that's required for legislation here at the state capitol has been followed. It has been followed completely as it goes through. There were House and Senate versions of this bill that were introduced. I presented it at a meeting of the Gwinnett delegation, gave all the members an opportunity to ask questions. I sat there. I think if you asked the chairman of the Gwinnett delegation, he would confirm. I sat there and answered all questions, was open to further follow-up questions. I have said to other members who neighbor this proposed city, if you want to include parts of the district you represent in the city, be happy to have that discussion with you. But the proposal that's before you here today only involves 2 members, and both members have signed it and support it. There's also a third member who signed the House version, whose district adjoins it and is of the other political party. So there's bipartisan support to give residents in this area this decision. This process has been followed. This what's made of public versus private for preparing the feasibility study, I'd submit that's just a misnomer. That's a red herring to distract. The $9.4 million in revenue in the feasibility study effectively matches the amount that Gwinnett County claims would be a fiscal impact. The numbers are very close. And I think that citing this disclaimer at the end of the feasibility study, that's just boilerplate language at the end of a report prepared by a consulting firm. That's, there's nothing to read into that. I would just say this, that cost is the last issue, and I'll wrap up. I appreciate the body's indulgence of this debate here today, because this is very important to the residents that I represent and Representative McCollum represents. It's our residents who are truly being impacted by this bill here today. And the challenge made late in this process that there's going to be a financial impact to the rest of Gwinnett County is not supported, both logically and from the facts that we have before us here today. First of all, if this city is created, it will be taking over services that are currently provided by Gwinnett. that would allow for a reduction of costs to the county government. And the county claiming that this will increase a tax burden assumes that Gwinnett County will not cut costs based upon having to provide services to fewer residents. The second point that I would notice here is that the amount of fiscal impact and the amount of financial revenues anticipated by the city nearly match, which shows that we really have a grasp for this feasibility study, has truly grasped the potential costs, including savings that can be made for a reserve fund with this city to truly cover costs and provide services, adequately taking those over from Gwinnett County. But the third point that I think is important, and if you'll please, if the clerk will please put this up on the screen, yesterday in the Gwinnett Daily Post, there was a legal ad run stating that on February 27th, 2024, at the regular meeting of the Gwinnett County Commission, they plan to take up increasing the chairperson's salary to a tune of $141,800. So to claim that there is some financial impact as a result of passing this legislation on the taxpayers and the rest of Gwinnett County, when Gwinnett County feels fine to raise the chairperson's salary by $141,000, I'd submit as disingenuous. And I'd ask for your favorable consideration of this measure based upon logically, this not it being inconsistent to claim that this is going to be a tax impact on the rest of Gwinnett, and by the evidence in yesterday's newspaper in Gwinnett County that Gwinnett County is not concerned about costs going forward. Mr. Speaker, I ask for the favorable consideration of this body, and I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. That completes the discussion, the presentations on the bill. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. For what purpose does Representative McLean rise?
Parliament inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that all those cities that Madam Pro Tem spoke of did a 2-year process on feasibility?
Honest answer, Representative. I'm not sure of that, so I'll let you offer one more parliamentary inquiry to that point.
Parliament inquiry, Mr. Speaker, in reference to my question would be, my inquiry would be, is it not true that there's no free lunches or no free dinners or no free snacks?
I think the world proves that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. For what purpose does Representative Roman rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, please.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I also represent Peachtree Corners, and that city spent a lot of time and effort to ensure that it is going to be a sustainable city, particularly that 45% of its revenue comes from businesses, unlike the city that we are debating today, and that's how they've kept their taxes non-existent?
I'm sure the lady knows of what she speaks and knows of the commercial makeup of all those areas. For what purpose does Representative Maynor rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it true that we are voting, this body is voting on a bill to decide if the people in Gwinnett County in a small area can vote yes or no to this new creation of a city. We are not creating a city. We are allowing constituents to decide if they want a city. Is that not true?
That is exactly what I've heard this morning, this morning and this afternoon, I believe, on this bill. I think the lady knows of what she speaks. For what purpose does Representative Anulowicz rise?
Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that this city is structured very similarly to several cities that did not pass at the ballot box in Cobb County last year? And specifically, part of the reason why is because this city is also structured where the mayor is not elected by the people of the city, but the mayor would instead be chosen from amongst the council members?
I've heard that.
Thank you.
I think the lady from Cobb can speak to that. As an old country boy from South Georgia, doesn't have these problems. I think there's a lot of similarities between Cobb and Gwinnett, so we're going to do exactly what you said. If the House passes a bill, we're going to let the folks vote on it, and we're going to see what they want to do. For what purpose does Representative Williams rise? I think a man from the coast can probably speak to this.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry there, Representative Williams.
Is it not true that I'm excited about this enthusiasm of the people getting to vote, and I'd love to see it happen with casino gambling?
I knew I shouldn't have recognized you. I don't think that issue is included in this issue. Two more. We're going to wrap this up. For what purpose does Representative Hutchinson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that the County Commissioner of Gwinnett County makes the least amount of money of any metro area, and we've been working on raising her salary for the last 2 years?
I'm sure the lady has reviewed those pay scales a little more than we make. I'm going to close with this one. For what purpose does the majority leader rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that this legislation was called for by the residents that I represent, and that this is distinguishable from the other city proposals that the distinguished member referenced earlier, because there will be no city property taxes as part of this proposal, and therefore is supported by the residents in this affected area? Thank you.
I'm sure the gentleman knows what he speaks of. Have all the members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 333. The yeas were 101. The nays are 63. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 982? Stay with me, members. We have a little more work to do, and we'll be out of here. House Bill 982, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 982 by Representative Gamble, the 15th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 14 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the State Workforce Development Board so as to require the State Workforce Development Board to develop, approve, and annually publish a high-demand career list. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Higher Education. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Gamble is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have before you, colleagues, House Bill 982. This is the governor's legislation on the High Demand Career Initiative. This legislation will empower the State Workforce Investment Board to, in partnership with employers and current labor data and trends, to identify, create, and maintain a list of high-demand careers, along with the skills and certifications needed for employment in those areas. This will allow the streamlining of the current lists that are out there so that the careers can be selected easier and changed when they need to be. It will allow for regional input. If there's a career in a certain region that is hotter than in another region, it will allow for that. And it will take a great program that we've had for some time and make it even better. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
The gentleman has no further questions. That is a great program. No further questions.
I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 982, the yeas are 161. The yeas are 161, and the nay is 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we'll have a couple of further actions to take up, and then we'll be out of here, I promise. Chair recognizes Representative Todd Jones for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that to House substitute to the House substitution to Senate Bill 26 as amended by the Senate.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Senate Bill 26 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th, Begin of the 47th, Goodman of the 8th, and Walker of the 20th, be entitled an act to amend Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state governments, so meetings and public hearings of development authorities and community improvement districts to be held by teleconference.
Let's see. The chair recognizes, you've not explained this yet, have you? The Chairman Todd Jones to explain the Senate amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I will try to be quick. At the end of last year, we voted this 155 to 1. We sent it back to the Senate, and they have since made about 4 deletions, and I'll go ahead and go through them with you quickly. It should be on your desk right now. The first is lines 43 through 47, removing the department's ability to contract. Essentially, that clause allowed them to contract with anyone vis-a-vis the Electric Vehicle Commission. We took that away. The second thing that I want to mention is that the Georgia Electric Vehicle Manufacturing Commission may not make any, I'll say, recommendations or contractual statements around effectively who can and who cannot be an electric vehicle or any type of automobile dealer. The third is we replaced on line 77 the word automotive, and we put the words franchise new motor vehicle. That essentially talks about who is going to be part of the commission. The rest of the commission remains the exact same. And then finally, the fourth on amendments lines 10 through 13, essentially inserting language to again affirm that this commission and the department does not have the ability to change the contracting and franchising laws for new car dealers here in the state of Georgia. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendment to the House substitute to SB 26, all those in favor will vote yes, those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion that the House agree to the Senate amendment to House substitute on SB 26, the yeas are 157, the nays are 2, and the House has agreed to the Senate amendment to the House substitute to SB 26. For what purpose does Representative Seaball rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 451 be moved from the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee to the Insurance Committee. Both chairs are in agreement.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 451 by Representative Seaball, the 34th, to be entitled an act to amend Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to public officers' employees so as to require the provisions of supplemental illness-specific insurance to certain first responders.
On the gentleman's motion that HB 451 be withdrawn from the Public Safety Committee and recommitted to the Insurance Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. For what purpose does Chairman LaHood rise? Cancel that. Members, we have some privileged resolutions. That completes any further actions and the rules calendar, so we'll take up privileged resolutions right now. Mr. Clerk, will you read our privileged resolutions? A whole group of them, looks like to me. Mr. Clerk.
Honoring the life and memory of Private First Class Hester Givens Massey. Honoring the life and memory of Andrew Drew Parks Fancher. Honoring the life and memory of James Harold McKinney. Recognizing and commending Nancy Harris on her outstanding public service as Mayor of Duluth. Recognizing February 13, 2024 as New Americans Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing Together Georgia. Recognizing February 13, 2024 as Engineers Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing February 15, 2024 as Lunar New Year Day at the State Capitol. Congratulating and commending the Viva Dream Mile upon its 25th anniversary, recognizing and commending the School Social Workers Association of Georgia for its work, recognizing and commending Phyllis Kitchens Thurman, recognizing February 22nd, 2024 as Alzheimer's Awareness Day in Georgia, recognizing and commending Carlton Hodges, commending the Georgia chapter of National Association of Black Law Enforcement Executives, recognizing Black maternal health statistics, commending small businesses, and recognizing March 5th, 2024 as Women-Owned Business Day at the State Capitol, recognizing and commending the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts upon its 100th anniversary, recognizing February 12, 2024 as Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. Day at the State Capitol, commending the Clayton County Chamber of Commerce and its leadership Clayton Class 2024, and recognizing February 8, 2024 as Leadership Clayton Day at the State Capitol, recognizing and commending the Georgia Center for Civic Engagement and Engage Club programs, which sponsors Youth Assembly among other programs, and congratulating and commending H. Lehman Franklin. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Mr. Clerk, would you check the names on that Franklin resolution when you get a chance? And see if Franklin's on there as far as a signer of that resolution. I think, yeah, he's on there. It's pretty good signing his own resolution. Congratulations to Representative Franklin. Just saying. Okay, we're moving on to afternoon orders. 1, 2, 3. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes for your afternoon order. Except we'll grant the first two a little bit of flexibility. Chairman Dickey is recognized for an afternoon order. Members, if you'll rise with me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I regret to inform my colleagues here that on Tuesday night, Crawford County, my county where I live, small county in middle Georgia, lost one of their deputies, Deputy Tim Rivers. He was killed in a automobile crash in his patrol vehicle while responding to a call to help another deputy who was performing a traffic stop. Deputy Rivers had been in law enforcement for many years with the Crawford County Sheriff's Department and leaves behind 2 kids, young children, and a fiance. Sheriff Lewis Walker, says his deputies go through much training and know the risks that go with the job. And very tragic Tuesday night. And so just a moment of silence for our Crawford County, for this Deputy Timmy Rivers, and for our Crawford County Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, if you remain standing just for a moment, Chairman Green, you're recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my fellow House members, I'm asking you to stand and honor the legacy of the late Hester Gibbons Massey, a native daughter of Randolph County, Georgia, and a citizen of Cuthbert, Georgia. This remarkable lady was a member of the 688 Battalion in the United States Army, one of the 855 black women soldiers allowed to serve in the Army. During World War II, she received numerous medals and awards that included the WAAC Service Medal, the Victory Medal, the European African Eastern Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, Congressional Gold Medal for being a war hero and a member of the Women's Army Corps. A movie on Netflix honoring the 688, directed by Tyler Perry, will be released this month in honor of her and her fellow 688 Battalion soldiers. Please join me in a moment of silence for us to honor the memory of PFC Hester Gibbons Massey and her contributions to our state and country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members, you may be seated. Now we have 4 afternoon orders remaining, and I'm going to ask all of you to abide by the 2-minute guide. Representative Schofield, you are recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, did you know that Solomon Calder Fuller was the first black psychiatrist and pioneer of Alzheimer's disease? Dr. Solomon Calder Fuller is widely acknowledged as the first African-American psychiatrist, but underappreciated as a pioneer of Alzheimer's disease. He was born in Liberia in 1872, came to the U.S. at age of 17. He excelled in his medical career and became an associate professor of both pathology and neurology at Boston University. He was one of the 5 research assistants in the Royal Psychiatric Hospital in Germany. And although he translated much of the Alzheimer's work into English, he was really a part of the racial disparities in mental health. But he trained a lot of black psychiatrists to treat black veterans in World War I. So I just want to say that he died at the age of 80, but his contributions are known. And we thank him and recognize him for the work that he did and his contributions to Alzheimer's. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kim Schofield. Representative Matt Reeves is recognized for an afternoon order. Your time's running.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wanted to take the well again today about these tax bills we passed. It's hard-earned money with hardworking Georgians. They send money to Washington, they send money to Atlanta. Look at the difference in the stewardship here in Georgia and Washington. We are working hard every day to honor hardworking Georgians, to lower the tax burden, to keep a good small business climate, to support our teachers, our law enforcement, and the folks who work hard every day in Georgia. So
Thank you for support for these 4 tax bills today, and just let the word go forth back into every one of our communities that we are working hard for our hard-working Georgians, letting them keep more of what they earn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Whip Burchett is recognized for an afternoon order. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You already flashed me red there. To my friend, he just stole some of my thunder here, so I'm going to give it to you like this. Today we've continued our effort, and I want to reflect on what we've done today as a House, and we've led. We passed House Bill 871, which makes sure that the families of disabled veterans continue to receive the tax exemption that their loved ones earned through their service. We passed House Bill 1015, which speeds up the reduction in your income tax rates, and an effort that the House has led on in 2018 and will continue to. We passed House Bill 1021, which increases dependent exemption, an effort to ensure that we keep the money you need to care for your children. We passed House Bill 1019, which increases the state homestead exemption. With the passage of these bills today, a hardworking Georgia family of 4 will now pay 1 penny of state income tax will not pay 1 penny on their first $32,000 of income. That is bipartisanship. That is the House leading. That is us putting money back in Georgians' pockets. And I applaud each and every one of you today for doing what you did. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Al Williams is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, for any of you, if you haven't had the opportunity to go up in the gallery while we're down here and look, it's one of the most beautiful shots in the entire state. Go up there sometimes and just look down. But while I'm here for from the place where water tastes like cherry wine, Liberty County, the only place, we have with us today the Student Council from Liberty County under the direction of Mr. Darius Brumwell and Ms. Nakisha Sims, and also with them is Maya Patel, who is the Rotary Oratorical Contest winner. She's a freshman who beat out 3 seniors. Will you all stand and let us honor you from the great, great county of Liberty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank y'all for being here. Congratulations. Safe trips, travels home. Water tastes like strawberry wine, cherry wine. I was just making sure you're paying attention. All right, that concludes our afternoon orders. We are ready for some announcements, and we'll be out of here. Chairman Hatchett, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The full Appropriations Committee meeting that was at 2 is now going to be at 3. Full Appropriations meeting will be at 3 p.m. in room 341.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're working on a budget, I bet. Chairman Stevens, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Subcommittee of Sustainable Economic Development will meet downstairs 216 on adjournment. Lunch will be served. We'll talk about Okefenokee Swamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairlady Lynn Smith, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. So my announcement will only last for 15 more minutes. In room 230 of the Capitol, there's some food for our legislators, sponsored by GEFA, Georgia Environmental Financial Authority. Great people, somebody you need to know. They're the glue that keeps our small counties together financially. Thank you.
Representative McLean is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Georgia Working Family Legislative Caucus will still be meeting in room 307 in the CLOB, and there's still lunch over there, so please, and the day's luncheon sponsor is Professional Association of Georgia Educators, and they'll be talking about educational issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Henderson, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. February is Cancer Prevention Month. Therefore, Monday, February 12th, we're highlighting breast cancer. We're asking women to wear pink, and we're also highlighting prostate cancer. We're asking the men to wear blue. Statistics show that 9,800 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the month, in this year only. 1 out of 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer this year alone. Remember, early detection is key. Early detection saves lives. Remember, Monday, February 12th. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Chairman Jaspers, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Transportation will meet 15 minutes upon adjournment and 6:06. Do need quorum there. Thank you.
Chairman Noel Williams is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Banks and Banking will meet at 2:15 in room 406 CLOB. We were meeting at 2, but now it's at 2:15, room 406 CLOB. Thank you.
Chairman Chris Irwin is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Education Committee will meet in room 506 CLOB at 1 o'clock. So Education Committee meeting 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what time are you meeting? Get up there and turn that clock back.
You're right. It's 2 o'clock. Thank you for the correction. In 15 minutes at 2 o'clock.
Very timely there, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Robert Dickey, there was to my left, is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee will meet in the morning, 8 o'clock, 606 CLOB. Thank you.
Representative Anderson, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governmental Affairs will meet today at 3 o'clock in room 606 CLOB. Thank you.
Members, if you have pages, I invite you to come up front. Before I recognize the majority leader, let me tell you a little bit about tomorrow. We're coming in early for a reason. I'll tell you what that reason is. But I want to thank this House for a really good day. Respectful conversation from all involved here. We always don't agree, but I think we can agree respectfully, and y'all did a really good job of that today. Lots of good points were made, both pros and cons, so thank y'all for that. And we passed some very meaningful legislation that will help the people of this state on a bipartisan basis, so thank you for that. Tomorrow, the trooper that lost his life a few days ago, a week ago, will be laid to rest at 11 a.m. So we're coming in case some of you would like to attend the funeral. We'll come in at 9 a.m. in the morning. So you'll have that option, if you will. And we'll try to get through our work on very rapidly. So any questions with that, check with my office. But at this time, I'll recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. on Friday, February 9th, 2024.
On the motion of the majority leader that this House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. Friday, February the 9th, 2024. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. Both are pretty weak, but the ayes have it. Thank y'all for your day, and I appreciate your service.